Has come to a sold-out Jones SB Stadium in Lubbock, Texas, where the Red Raiders of Texas Tech have won 9 in a row, but today it is their biggest challenge yet as they take on the undefeated and top-ranked Nebraska Cornhuskers. Hello again, everybody. Along with James Lofton, I'm Ron Thulin, and this is really a game of strength versus strength. Nebraska's offense, number 5 overall in college football, versus the number 2 overall defense in college football with Texas Tech. But if you're Nebraska, it begins with your quarterback, Eric Crouch.
Well, it certainly does, and when you play quarterback, it doesn't matter what style of offense you play. It's about decision making, and Eric Crouch, whether it's running the option or deciding who to throw to in a play action pass, he makes great decisions. Now defensively, this team is piloted by Carlos Pope. He's the bus driver, and this defense hit a bit of a speed bump. Look what they did the first 3 ball games, and the last 2 ball games, very uncharacteristic of the black shirts for Nebraska.
Well, they will have their hands full today as Texas Tech will throw the ball all over the place about 76% of the time, and they're led by a sophomore quarterback by the name of Cliff Kingsbury.
And they may throw 76 times in this ballgame. This team loves to put it up. They talked about control passing. Well, it's just passing all over the place. And Cliff Kingsbury, look at his numbers that he puts up per game so far. 56 times on the attempts, 30 completions, and almost 300 yards per game. And you know what, Ron, he's going to have to do better than that to beat Nebraska today.
He has quite a challenge, but if you like offense, this is the place to be. The question is, whose defense will step forward first and stop the other's offense? Texas Tech needs help from their secondary with Curtis and their linebackers of Pitts and Flugents. More on the defense when we return to Lubbock right after this. The Red Raiders touching the saddle. They are ready to go, along with our third member of our broadcast team, Eric Clemens. And Eric, Texas Tech has a linebacker that has to step up big this evening in Lawrence Flugents.
Absolutely they do, Ron. You know, Nebraska has a huge offensive line to spark that ground attack. They average 304 pounds a man. The Tech linebackers and defensive ends average over 224 a man, so that's a big disadvantage. But they have a quicker, more aggressive unit led by Lawrence Flugents, a sophomore middle linebacker, just a utility man. Last year leads the nation, averaging 13 tackles a game. Their defense is going to have to come up with a lot of big plays to give them a shot tonight against number 1 Nebraska. Guys?
All right, thanks, Eric. It's beginning to sprinkle on Jones SBC Stadium. Temperature in the low 70s. It is windy, and we are expecting some thunderstorms as we look at first-year head coach Mike Leach. And we are ready. Newcomb and Walker are back. This is with a very strong wind, and Nebraska is just going to down it. They'll begin 1st and 10 from their own 20. They come in with a number 1 rush offense in the NCAA, over 350 yards a game on the ground. Quarterback, of course, is Eric Crouch. 19-3 as a starter. Didn't practice Wednesday. Has some bumps and bruises. He's healthy today. The line averages over 300 pounds. They can wear a defensive line down. And the running backs and wide receivers, the I-back Dan Alexander leads the Big 12 in yards per carry. Keep an eye on Tracy Wistrom. He is this team's leading receiver. There is Crouch, the junior out of Omaha, Nebraska. He is the catalyst for this Nebraska offense. Alexander, right side. The Texas Tech swarm defense runs him out of bounds, but not before he picks up 6. And let's introduce you to the swarm defense, number 2 in total defense in the NCAA this year. The defensive line, not very big, but Hunt, Kasurik, Wyatt, Lemons, they are quick and athletic. The linebackers, Pitt, Flugents, and Norman. Flugents leads the country in tackles per game. In the secondary, they do have experience. Keep an eye on Kevin Curtis. He is their leader. 2 tight ends for Nebraska. Texas Tech with 5 on the line. Crouch is going to string it out. He's hit right at the 25 and is dropped. James, that is exactly what Texas Tech wants to do defensively. They want to make sure that Eric Crouch holds the ball and they stretch him out.
You know, and terminology is so important in football. We talked to Greg McMacken, the defensive coordinator for Texas Tech. We said, what type of technique are you going to use to slow Eric Crouch down? He said, the feather technique. I thought, feather technique? We really want to stretch him and make him run sideways. I said, couldn't come up with anything tougher? He said, no, we just want to tickle him a little bit.
It is loud on 3rd down. We'll call it 4. You see the numbers, Nebraska. Crouch pitching back. Alexander gets close to the 30 and is stuffed. And they're going to mark it short of the 1st down. They worked on tackling Dan Alexander all this week. Texas Tech defense did, and it paid off on this play.
Yeah, but to work on tackling Dan Alexander, they must have gotten one of the offensive guards to carry the football. And a great stop by Norman, number 38. He gets his pads lower, and look at it, it just stands him up straight. Terrific defensive stop. Nice 3 and out by Texas Tech.
This is what you want to do on Nebraska because they have started slowly. They've trailed in 4 of their 5 games this year. Dan Haydenfeld, the punter, one of the best in the Big 12 Conference. Saw the numbers, averaging just about 43 yards. Wes Welker is back, and he pushes it off to the right side. Welker from the 17. He gets up to the 25-yard line. A return of about 8. Hunt covered 52 yards. Now the Texas Tech offense, they called it the air raid offense when Mike Leach was at Kentucky. You can call it that here at Texas Tech. Cliff Kingsbury, he is a Timex watch, the coaches call him. He takes a licking and keeps on ticking. He's big, he's strong. The line is going to have to protect Kingsbury. They've been hurt by injuries this year. 14 different players have caught passes this year for the Red Raiders. Tim Baker is their leading receiver. We have 3 to the left, 1 to the right. Man in motion. Kingsbury, first pass is complete to Baker, and he drags people up over the 35-yard line. And let's take a look at the Nebraska defense. They struggled with pass defense the last couple of games. The line, one of the reasons. They're not getting the push from the defensive line spot. Jeremy Schluchter gets the start. Lauren Kaiser is injured, not with the team. Carlos Polk is the linebacker who leads this team. He's been hobbled by an ankle injury. The secondary, they will be tested, to say the least. Keo Craver is their best cover man. 1st and 10 for the Raiders. Kingsbury from the shotgun. The quick pass over the middle is complete. Up to the 50, to the 40-yard line, Darrell Jones, and we have a penalty flag thrown in the backfield, and it may be against Nebraska as Kingsbury gets up limping.
You're Nebraska, it's all about putting hits on the quarterback. But Cliff Kingsbury that time really unloads the ball quickly, gets it out. But that's not a good limp. You hate to see that if you're Mike Leach.
Well, it's offsetting. You saw the personal foul penalty. Penalties have been a problem for this Texas Tech defense. They're averaging about 12 a game, just about 100 yards, and Mike Leach says there's no good way to put it. We've got to stop the penalties.
Well, last week they had 17 penalties against Baylor, and this one really hurts because not only do you lose that great run after the catch from Darrell Jones, it's what they severely need. This puts them back in a little bit of a hole, even though it's not a yardage mark off against them.
You see the numbers on Kingsbury, as we talked about earlier, 14 straight completions versus Baylor last week. That tied a Big 12 record. Started one game last year. It was against Mike Leach's Oklahoma Sooners, and he lit the Sooners up. Mike Leach says, I knew this kid had something back then. Ricky Williams joining Kingsbury in the backfield. The shuffle pass. Williams bounces off a tackle. He makes his way up to the 50, and that is the running ability that we saw back in 1998 that made him one of the Heisman Trophy candidates.
But I think for Ricky Williams that it's new learning. He's not running the ball from an high position. He's getting it. He's about a yard behind the guy. Look at the big splits. He gets it. He's a yard behind. His back is turned, so he has to locate what he's doing. And look at Randy Stellick comes in and just rocks Kingsbury again. That's twice they put him on the carpet.
There's big Lance Williams, the left guard. Ricky's getting a little equipment worked on by Jamie Easterling. 1st and 10 after the pickup of 11. Kingsbury with 3 wide to the right. He's going up top, going for big money, overthrows his receiver, and it's going to be intercepted. Troy Watcher with his 4th interception of the year. 4th consecutive game he has picked off a pass for the senior out of Columbus, Nebraska.
And this is just Cliff Kingsbury, a bad read, not reading the deep center field at Watchorn. Makes a nice over-the-shoulder grab. You see the wide receiver, he's in position, but he's not deep enough. Obviously, when someone's in deep center field, you just can't loft this ball down there.
That is the 10th interception of the year for Kingsbury. Watchorn is a young man that has come out of nowhere and has been a real leader for this defense. So the Huskers get it back, 1st and 10, ball on their own 27-yard line here in the first quarter. Bobby Newcomb in motion. And they go straight ahead, trying that power running game again. And again, it is Dan Alexander, the big 245-pound tailback out of Wentzville, Missouri. Here's Troy Watron.
You know, from time to time, people might think that Nebraska's offense, power football, is a little boring. That time we saw the motion with Bobby Newcomb. When we talked to Frank Solich, he said, yeah, we like to throw a few wrinkles in early in the ball game to see how the defense is going to adjust. But we have our basic package, and we love to go at those things.
Well, the sun is trying to peek out here at Jones SBC Stadium, Nebraska. Again, straight ahead, power running, Alexander. Crossing the 40 up to the 43-yard line, following behind the big offensive line led by Dominic Raiola, the big center out of Honolulu, Hawaii.
And Dominic is about as good as they get when you play center. Number 54, watch him. Quick movement to the right. They double team. Then you have to come off on the next guy. They need to come to the next level. That's a nice double team. But once you control that man, the guard needs to slip off onto the linebacker.
Big Dom, a semifinalist for the Lombardi Award this year. First and 10, Huskers on the move. They're doing it. Patented Nebraska offense. Crouch, play action, has a man open. Pass is complete to Matt Davison. His 11th reception of the year, and he has now caught a pass in 33 of the last 35 games. That went for 30.
And when you're thinking about Nebraska, the offensive keys for this ball game have to be 150 yards passing. We saw the play action pass there, and no fumbles. They've been very good at that this year. They've only lost one fumble. And Crouch, you mentioned 40 touches. That means he's going to run the ball probably about 20, 25 times. He's going to throw the ball about 15 times. Really, he's the key to this offense. The ball in his hands is when they work best.
Crouch is going to change things up at the line of scrimmage. Has 10 to snap it. Almost had him in the backfield. He's in trouble. Dropped back at the 30-yard line. Loss of 2 on the play. Kevin Curtis coming from that strong safety spot. James, one of the things that Texas Tech has done this year as opposed to last year when they played a 4-4 defense, Curtis now, number 31, is playing farther off the line of scrimmage. How can Nebraska take advantage of that?
Well, I think the key for them and Texas Tech, with him playing back further, that it should stop them from being able to do the play action pass to Wisdom. You don't want that strong safety up around the line of scrimmage. But they have linebackers in Norman and Pitts who are strong safety sides, and they run really fast. So this defense, even though it's small, their strength is speed. They need to keep people back deep.
On 2nd and 12, Alexander barrels his way to the 22-yard line. Pickup of 8 before Lawrence Flugens, the sophomore out of Klein, Texas, makes the stop. The young man who started out on the defensive line last year, moved to the outside linebacker in spring, then they moved him to the middle, and he's found a home there.
You know, the key for both Frank Solich and Greg McMacken, the defensive coordinator, is don't be too smart in the first couple of drives. Run your basic things, the blitzes that you know that you like, that your guys can execute. You don't want your players to overthink early in the ball game. The emotions are going crazy. Let them just go out, make the plays that they know they can naturally. A little bit of confusion by Nebraska getting lined up right now.
I think Eric Crouch is going to have to burn a timeout. That's exactly what he'll have to do. We have 9:43 left in the opening quarter from Lubbock, Texas. We are scoreless. The Texas Tech 22-yard line, facing 3rd and 4. James Lofton, Eric Clemens. I'm Ron Thulin. Glad you're with us on this Saturday evening. Alexander and Judd Davies now in the I formation for the Huskers.
And that's about 900 pounds of backs in backfield, that triple I.
And now Willie Miller joins him. Alexander straight ahead power game. Fumble! And Texas Tech has the football. Only the second fumble lost by the Huskers this year, recovered by Mark Washington, the free safety.
And we just talked about one of the keys in this ball game is not fumbling. They get great blocking at the point of attack. That's a hole that a truck could go through. But the good convergence on the ball by Texas Tech forces a fumble. Dan Alexander was plagued by fumbles in '99. And you know what? It's starting to rear its ugly head, and fumbles come in spurts.
They have to be careful about that. Now, the last time Texas Tech had the football, they tossed it away. Each team has a turnover. And again, the Red Raiders, 3 wide receivers to the right. Kingsbury, the quick pass, picked off. That's pay dirt for Nebraska. Joe Walker with his 2nd interception of the year. This one for 6.
see Kingsbury shaking his head in disbelief as he walks off the field. It is a little bit of a miscommunication between him and Tim Baker. Baker stops. He throws the ball outside. Joe Walker is right there. Joe Walker, one of the most celebrated running backs coming out of high school, out of Arlington. Lamar is the quarterback. He ran the ball. Talked to him before the ball game. He said, you know what, if I get it in my hands, I know what to do with it. That was an easy 6 points.
He saw nothing but golden goalposts. Josh Brown, 26 for 26 on point afters this year. We have a penalty flag. Referee today is John Bible. He's a descendant of the great DX Bible, former Texas coach.
Snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty.
Now Frank Solich, see the numbers overall as a head coach. He has only lost to one unranked team since he has been the head coach at Nebraska. That was Texas back in 1998. A little bit longer extra point, but the sophomore from Foyle, Oklahoma, remains perfect on the year. Nebraska capitalizes on the turnover. The extra point is good, and the Huskers are on the board first.
During the break, Greg McMackin pulled his defense up, and I think he had to tell them, you know what, by no fault of you guys, we're down in this ballgame. You guys continue to play. When you do have to go out on the football field, kind of ignore the offense right now. They're struggling.
Kicking into a stiff wind. Wes Welker, right side. Up to the 20, and that is where he is brought down, and the Texas Tech offense will try it again.
Offensive keys in this ball game. Texas Tech must come up with 100 yards rushing, 65% completions, and they need 4 40-yard plays, big plays in this ball game, either running or throwing the football. They can't just continue to go down the field in little 5 and 5-yard increments and expect to march down against a team like Nebraska.
Well, when he was at Kentucky, Mike Leach's team shattered records. They had 6 NCAA records, 116 school records. At Oklahoma, he did likewise. And now Nebraska is going to call a timeout. That is their second timeout in this quarter. And Frank Solich, I'm sure, does not like having that happen. You're burning 2 timeouts early. And with that timeout, we will also step aside. The top-ranked Huskers lead it by a touchdown in Lubbock. Welcome back to Jones SBC Stadium in Lubbock, Texas, where the Red Raiders and the #1 Nebraska Cornhuskers squaring off. And Kingsbury's been a little shaky in the beginning.
Yeah, Nebraska's done a good job pressuring him, and he just throws one up for grabs down the middle. There's another simple zone pass. He throws the ball outside when it should have been thrown inside. Easy 6 points for Nebraska.
And that was Walker's 3rd career interception for a touchdown, and that is why the Huskers lead it 7-0. First and 10 from their own 20 for Texas Tech. Darrell Jones in motion. Kingsbury, the quick-looking pass. Derek Doris with the reception. You get the sense that Texas Tech, they operate almost on a mini field offensively.
They operate on a mini field, and they need to stretch it out because there are two ways to stretch the football field. One is vertically with the deep passing game. The other one is horizontally where you work across the field. They do that very well. What they don't do as well is stretch the ball deep down the field. We saw the one deep pass. We just threw it up for grabs.
Pick up a 5 on the play, 2nd and 5. Kingsbury straight back this time. He has some time, but then he is going to be dropped. Tried to get a step on the defense. Jason Lohr came in from that nose tackle spot, the junior out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he picks up his first sack of the year and the first for the Huskers this evening.
Now, one of the things that Kingsbury has to do when you look over the pocket, you go 1 receiver, 2 receivers, throw the football away. They've gotten good pressure right up the middle, and that really disrupts the quarterback more than anything. When you get pressure from the edge, you can step up, but when you're getting pressure from the middle, there's nowhere to go.
Loss of 7 on the play, 3rd down and 12. You can see the Red Raiders in the bottom half of the Big 12 in 3rd down conversions. The fade route, Texas Tech's favorite route, and it is incomplete, but we have a penalty flag thrown. Baker, the intended receiver, and this is a play that Mike Leach says we just want to complete it about 40% of the time.
Yeah, and this is better than a completion. You get pass interference.
On the defense, 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down.
Kingsbury has the one-on-one coverage that he wants outside. He knows directly where he's going with that football. You see the bumping, the pushing. That ball's in the air the whole time, so you know that it's going to be interference. He really does a good job in forcing the receiver to the outside. That receiver has to fight and keep that inside leverage so that the pass can be complete, because he's not going to get that interference call every time out.
That was on DeJuan Gross, the sophomore out of Garfield Heights, Ohio. Sold-out stadium, over 50,000 on hand tonight. 1st and 10 from their own 33 for the Red Raiders. Shad Williams now the running back. They like to throw to him. Williams gets dumped at the line of scrimmage. Kingsbury over the middle, and the pass is incomplete. Intended for Baker, and again, Cliff Kingsbury sits on the turf.
Joe Walker, by trade, is a strong safety. He's having to cover more people in this ball game. He gets those hands on that big receiver, redirects him just enough where he can't get the ball in there for a completion. And Baker has to use his size a little better against the 5'10" Joe Walker.
Well, despite getting burned the last couple of weeks, this Nebraska secondary very confident they are going to press these Texas Tech receivers. Kingsbury on the option. He's got some running room. Gets one block to the 40 to the 43-yard line, and we have a penalty flag comes flying in from about the 50. Troy Watron's the one who chased him out of bounds.
Get a flag, you think that a wide receiver is maybe pushing in the back when that receiver, or you get a holding call, trying to block downfield to help out the quarterback.
Yeah, we talked about the penalties of Texas Tech. Well, they're the most penalized team in the Big 12. 24 more penalties in second place, Texas. They've had 14 false starts and 9 personal foul penalties.
10-yard penalty from the end of the run. Repeat second down.
And Mike Leach's troops are on pace to break the NCAA record held by Grambling.
And you know what? I can understand this holding because he's blocking for his quarterback. He doesn't want to get see just that little bit on the left arm there. Guys went by a little fast for me, but he grabbed that left arm so that his quarterback wouldn't get hurt because he knows where his bread is buttered.
Protect the man at all times. 2nd and 11. Kingsbury seeing pressure again, throws it out. The flat pass is complete to James Easterling, a sophomore out of Naperville, Illinois. Well, if you've become accustomed to Texas Tech offense over the years, it was grinded out, running, hard-nosed West Texas football. Quite a change this season, James Lofton.
Yeah, and the biggest change is in the passing department. You look at that, over 125 more yards passing in the year 2000. Rushing yardage has been cut in half, and they really like to improve those rushing totals. They have the backs, Shad Williams and Ricky Williams, two guys who can get up and down the field. They just have to find new ways to get them the football.
Well, Mike Leach calls the plays. He's also the offensive coordinator. It's 3rd and 12. Ricky Williams in motion. Nobody back with Kingsbury. We've got a whistle. There was movement all over the offensive line.
Snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
We talk about an Achilles heel for a ball club. They're on pace to break the record for most penalties in the Big 12. See the left tackle just rocking back in his stance a little bit. Paul Erickson last week against Baylor, 5 false start penalties. 5 penalties. And you don't expect that when you're playing at home.
Well, he's over Kyle Vandenbosch, big number 83. Now, Vandenbosch last week versus Iowa State, he really caused 2 false starts. He's been on a tear the last couple of games, and I'm sure Mr. Erickson understands that. So the situation now is 3rd and 17. King Scoville in motion. Kingsbury seeing pressure, lofts it up into the flat. Pass is incomplete. Joe Walker's the one who got a piece of it. Carlos Polk really came in from that middle linebacker position to make Mr. Kingsbury see some stars.
And when you have a linebacker the size of Carlos Polk, 6'2", 260 pounds, a running back tried to get him on the legs. He just bunched him off like it was a little mosquito bite, and they put the big hurt on Cliff Kingsbury.
Clinton Greathouse will be set to kick it away. Greathouse, the sophomore out of Roswell, New Mexico, has taken the place of Eric Rosillas as a punter. They say Greathouse gets it off quicker. He was struggling in pregame warmups. But with the wind, nice high kick. And it'll be Joe Walker. Nothing doing for Walker. And Nebraska's offense will take over again. 1st and 10, about their own 40-yard line. Nebraska offense 7th in points per game, averaging almost 42 points a contest. A lot of it coming in the 4th quarter. They wear teams down. We saw it versus Iowa State. We saw it versus Missouri. Well, Verizon presents 1st and 10 all season long on Fox Sports Net College Football Saturday. Verizon, making the world of communications a whole lot simpler. Crouch keeps it. Running room. Still on his feet to the 30. 20. Knocked out of bounds. He averages over 6 yards a carry. He's rushed for 8 touchdowns, and he picks up 40 on that play.
You have dive plays. You have quarterback options. This is a pure quarterback keeper. Watch both backs go straight ahead into the line of scrimmage. There's nothing about it. It's just a quarterback keep. You get 10 guys blocking, and look at that lane to run through. Everybody's blocking, and Crouch just on his own with that speed, getting to the outside, picks up a big game for Nebraska.
He is a lot faster than he looks. Straight ahead running down to the 5-yard line. Dan Alexander for a Dr. Pepper game break. Let's send it to our College Football Saturday studios with Kevin Frazier.
Guys,
Kevin Frazier, I think you may be right. In Kansas State, of course, they had the game circled on November 11th when Nebraska comes to town. Now, that's a must-win situation for him. Straight ahead running. Again, it is Alexander. Nothing doing. But getting back to Oklahoma, Josh Heupel, we saw last week against Texas what he can do. He was not intimidated by that Kansas State crowd today.
Yeah, but I also think that Oklahoma beat them at their game. They had the special teams return, big kickoff return for a touchdown. And this is a ball club 2 weeks in a row going into hostile territory. I call it Cotton Bowl hostile territory for Oklahoma, pulling off big wins.
How about 20 of 22 in a red zone for Nebraska? 2nd down and goal from the 3. Crouch is going to keep it. Touchdown, Huskers. His 9th rushing touchdown of the year, 17th overall. And Greg McMackin, the defensive coordinator, knew they've got to string Crouch out, and they didn't do it on the 40-yarder, and they didn't do it on the touchdown.
And both plays were the same. Both quarterback keeps. That time, 3 running backs in the backfield, all 3 lead blockers for Eric Crouch. No way to stop that.
Brown has hit 73 of the last 74 extra points and chalked 1 more up. Still in the 1st quarter, 5 minutes and 22 seconds remaining, and the number 1 rushing offense is looking good. 1st quarter. And Texas Tech needs to do something offensively just to get their confidence back. Wes Welker again. He is stacked up after crossing the 20. Maybe gets up to the 24-yard line. The Nebraska scoring drive, 58 yards, only took him 4 plays, 1 minute and 16. Eric Clemens, it was impressive.
Very impressive. And I talked to the All-American candidate at center, Dominic Raiola, before the game. He said, hey, pretty hostile crowd out here, huh? He says, we're going to have to do something to take this crowd out of it early. Ever since the interception return, Jones Stadium out here has been quiet. You can hear a pin drop, guys.
We talked to him 2 weeks ago, Dominic Raiola. Here's a guy at his size. He boogie boards and body surfs.
How big of a boogie board?
That boogie board is
probably uses a surfboard for boogie boarding.
Anybody that knows what Tommy's Burgers are in Honolulu, he's got to be all right in my book. Now Texas Tech has really struggled offensively here in the opening quarter. And John Bible's going to come over. Maybe a time problem. He's coming to the near sideline where the Texas Tech bench is. Sixth meeting between these two teams. Texas Tech has never beaten Nebraska.
And for Texas Tech to get back in this ball game, they have to really go with what their bread and butter is, that control passing game. Kingsbury has to settle down a little bit. You see, maybe the phones are out on one sideline. They're trying to check upstairs. Because you know what? Texas Tech doesn't want to take off their headphones. Even if Nebraska's headphones are out on the far side, they'd rather have their headphones on so that they can really communicate with the guys upstairs.
Well, Texas Tech knows the importance of this game. Their only loss this year was to Texas A&M, 33-15 in College Station. Special teams really cost them the game a couple of weeks ago. Let's see if they take off the headsets.
Is one the only one that won't work?
Well, it looks like one doesn't work. The down marker is broken. You have to, in all of Lubbock, you have to have a down marker.
Big fellas fell over the down marker?
Yeah, I guess. Get a magic marker.
And there it is on the far side. There's no down marker. So I'll put first down up there so everybody knows what down it is.
Okay. Keep us posted, would you?
They're going to run in, try and get one. And here's sprinting out through the corner of the end zone. And this guy will get a big cheer in a minute as they figure out what he's doing. Starting to tie up a little bit. I don't think he could outrun Michael Johnson.
No, that is a 6'2", 40. And he's got some canal water sucking right now, isn't he? I tell you, it is about to start raining here at Texas Tech. There are some thunderstorms building to the south, and they are headed this way. And if you're a passing team, I'm not so sure you want to see that. First and 10 from the 23. They keep it on the ground with Ricky Williams. Nothing doing. Williams, the senior out of Duncanville, Texas. If you remember last year or 2 years ago, 1998, he was one of the leading candidates for the Heisman Trophy. He blew out his ACL, missed all of last year, of course, and boy, that was tough, but he's just starting to get his confidence back.
And I think the tough thing for Ricky Williams to come back and the offense has changed. You know, it's as if you go on vacation, you come back and someone's redecorated your house and stuff that you're not really sure that you like a lot.
See Nebraska now. 7 men on the line of scrimmage. They come with 4, and Kingsbury is going to be dropped. Second sack of the night by the Nebraska Cornhuskers. This time it was J.P. Wishman, the junior out of Shawnee, Kansas.
But what happens now is you start to plant the seeds of doubt. The offensive linemen are wondering, did I block long enough? I thought we blocked long enough. Somebody should have been open. If not, should he throw the football away? He's looking downfield. He has time. And then all of a sudden it breaks loose, and all 4 guys are on top of him. The offensive linemen are going, hey, we didn't do our job, but I thought we did a little bit of our job. He's got to help them out by throwing the football away.
Third down and 17. Nebraska again showing blitz, but they bring 4. They read the screen perfectly. And nothing doing. Boy, Nebraska sniffed that out from the get-go. Keough Craver was right in the middle of things. They were not faked out at all. They started to rush, and James, they just quickly head to that one side.
And I think the crowd is a little frustrated. They're looking at the down and distance, 3rd and 17. You throw a screen behind the line of scrimmage and expect to pick that up against a very talented team. It's not going to happen very often. You have to keep yourself out of those long 3rd down situations.
Greathouse again. First punt just over 39 yards. Nebraska coming strong. And it is Joe Walker from the 39-yard line. We have a penalty flag. That's going to be against Nebraska. Walker's run will go for naught. We've got a couple of flags. 1, 2, 3 yellow hankies laying on the carpet.
They got a push in the back by number 12, Bobby Newcomb, just trying to help his guy out. But you have to realize if you can read the name on the back of the jersey, it's not time to block him.
The kick was 43 yards. Well, Texas Tech will benefit with a little more than that. A lot of penalties in the early going. We haven't even completed the first quarter. We still have 3:08 left.
When Nebraska came in, they had only been penalized 27 times coming into the ball game. So a team that plays real clean against a team that 71 penalties coming into the ball game for Texas Tech, a team that has had trouble with the yellow hanky.
Here's John Bible.
Illegal block in the back on the return team. Penalty is 10 yards from the spot of the foul. It'll be first down.
They have like 8 guys on the set for bagels. Only 21 total yards. They both have 13 plays. Nebraska with a football, and they're going to keep it on the ground. Terrell Buckhalter, number 36, the junior out of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Nice blocking at the point of attack by Nebraska, getting around the corner. You think about the option, the dive. They've only had one real option. Everything else has been a little different, not what you really expect, and they did cover that option pretty well. So Frank Solich said, okay, they've covered the option. We'll give them some other things to look at. Then we'll come back to the option, to the dive plays later in the ballgame.
Usually, you know, they have the run setting up the pass setting up the run. Nebraska can keep you on your heels because you're not sure what they're going to do with that option. This time they do pitch it back to Buckhalter. Tech tries to string it out. Buckhalter puts his head down. We have a penalty flag. Nears the 40-yard line.
You know, coaches know why flags are thrown in the blocking area when you push in the back or when you clip or when you hold. It's because the defense has out-hustled you to the football, and that's a classic case of it right there. Texas Tech running, getting to the football first, and you have to commit that block.
On the offense, 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It remains second down.
Now let's see if we can see where it happened. Whoa, pre-Halloween.
And there's Flugents in the middle. Watch him, that feather technique, trying to move to the football. He's getting there. He's in front of Judd Davies, number 4, redshirt freshman. When they sit in the films and they watch this one, he's going to have his head down and not saying much. But good hustle play by Flugents, and I like the paint on the face by Flugents also.
Well, leading the NCAA in tackles. He's really a sideline-to-sideline guy, so when they run the option, it plays into his strength. Second down and 19. Crouch throwing it out in the flat. Pass is complete to Newcomb. He gets a block. Gets away, finally shoved out of bounds by Mark Washington, but not before he gets up to the 40-yard line.
You know, when I look at this ball club and I see Eric Crouch, I see Dan Alexander, the running backs, Correll Buckhalter, Newcomb is really the X factor because his ability to run with the football, I think, is almost unused on this ball club. He started out as quarterback, had a severe knee injury. Crouch comes in, he beats him out for the position. Then he's learning to play this receiver position. So you have to remember, when this guy was in high school, he was a quarterback. So this position is new to him.
Not bad on first down. That keeps you on schedule when you're getting over 8.5 yards your first play. Crouch this time, he swings it out. He'll try the other side to Newcomb. Looking for some running room, gets a huge block. Crouch even trying to get into the mix, and Newcomb up to about the 48-yard line. You love to see those big offensive linemen getting out there and popping some heads.
I would think Bobby Newcomb now is a little fatigued. He had the big run on the previous play. This time he goes in motion. He stops. He reverses his field. See him switch the ball. That's good. I like that. Puts it in the opposite hand away from where the defense is coming from. But he just doesn't get a great block from Eric Crouch.
It was a token block, I think. He tried. Newcomb, a 4-sport athlete in high school out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. He's already graduated. And he goes in motion. 2nd and 2. Straight ahead running with Buckhalter. What a 1-2 punch with Buckhalter and Alexander. And, well, the umpire decided he was going to take a seat. Bob Holliday. That's got to hurt.
I don't think he decided he was going to take a seat.
He's a big guy.
But he's checking the body to make sure everything's in place. You know, the umpires get a chuckle out of it. They know that they're in the line of fire, and he's trying to move out of the way, but he still has to keep his eye on the play, and
that's a clip.
Maybe his bottom on the play a little bit, too. He gets in on the tackle there. He's going to tell the guys after the game, you know, I got a tackle on Buckhalter.
I was talking to him before the game, and he's a big guy. Knock him down takes a little bit. Nebraska, the straight ahead running again. And we were talking during a commercial a few moments ago about this is where Nebraska has been successful so far tonight. Just knocking people off the line of scrimmage with that big offensive line versus the thin offensive line of Texas Tech.
And you talk about wearing a team down. It can happen in the 4th quarter, the 3rd quarter, or late in the 1st quarter when your offense has been unable to sustain drives. Texas Tech, their offense has been on the sideline. And you look at the weight advantage. These guys will go in at halftime and eat for Nebraska.
Well, we saw them wear down Iowa State last week. Straight ahead running. Penalty flag is thrown by the umpire, Bob Holliday. Davis on the carry. And another penalty.
But we saw that size advantage when you have guys who are quicker than you. Believe me, they're going to pull and tug, and this is going to be against Texas Tech to get a hand in there on the face mask, grabbing and pulling.
Can't beat yourself when you're playing the top team in the country.
Face mask on the defense. 5-yard penalty from the end of the run. Second down.
So we'll move it a little bit closer. Nebraska has not struggled really offensively this year. Rushed 60 times versus Iowa State. They just put their head down. Their offensive line took it as a challenge. Really, it dates back to 2 years ago when people were questioning the offensive line of the Huskers. And this should be the end of the quarter. He's not going to get this play off. And that will do it. 15 minutes are in the books in Lubbock, Texas, and the #1 team in the country has the 14-0 lead over the Red Raiders of Texas Tech. Under very cloudy skies, they're threatening, and at the end of one, Nebraska leads Texas Tech 14-0. Go ahead, you're laughing.
And another gopher came and stole the cookie. There's been a defensive gopher.
How about 171 yards for the Huskers, only 33 for Texas Tech, and Nebraska is again on the move. Second down, they only need one.
And the bad thing is they're going to get that one with this big jumbo offense.
And they get the one and then some. Buckalter to the right side. In case you just joined us, Eric Crouch had a 40-yard run, the longest run given up by this Tech defense early on, but that came after they intercepted a pass from Cliff Kingsbury. Taking it in for a touchdown, Joe Walker with his second interception of the year. And the Huskers lead it 14-0.
You know what this offense is like? It's like a vacuum cleaner. You have a whole bunch of dirt on the ground, start to suck it up slowly. They're sucking the secondary up closer and closer to the line of scrimmage, and Tracy Wistrom, the tight end, is going to sneak right past him.
We've been waiting to see him tonight, and I'm sure we will. Buckalter slipping tackles as he gets up to the 20-yard line. Will be close to a first down, just a little bit short. Second down and one again. Boy, your defense is on the field an awful long time when you're facing second and one. Straight ahead running. They get the first down. It'll be 1st and 10 from inside the 15. Now, most coaches say, we've got to control the football. We don't want a team like Nebraska to have the football. Mike Leach says, no, points win, not time of possession. He doesn't care about that.
Well, you know what, he's right, but they need points, and Nebraska's first scoring drive was just about 1 minute and 15 seconds, so they can move up and down the field quickly. Mike Leach, you know, his mind is going 1,000,000 miles an hour now, and he has to figure out some way to penetrate the Nebraska defense when they get the ball back.
It's on the 17. Crouch keeps it, ducks his head, gets up to the 15-yard line. A pickup of 2 on the play. Aaron Hunt, the left end out of Denison, Texas, just a sophomore. Third-team freshman All-American on the stop.
Now you shrink the field a little bit. You're in the red zone. 2nd and 8. Frank Solich throwing one real pass down the field so far. Wide open Davidson. This is the time. You've been sticking it inside. You've got a chance to hit Tracy Wistrom going down the field right past those safeties.
An impressive performance running the football.
And they're blitzing outside.
Looking for Newcomb. Has Newcomb. Overthrows Newcomb. Antoine Alexander was on the coverage. The senior out of Midland Lee High School.
And the whole thing looked off low there. The route didn't look very crisp. The throw didn't come out the proper way. You know, and when that happens, when you watch things that don't work well on the sideline, you can look at the head coach and tell by his face and his posture and his demeanor that he doesn't like what's going on. Come on, you got to hit that.
He knew it was there.
In practice. Come on, you can make that throw.
He knew it was there. Now it is 3rd down and 8 from the 15. Buckalter in the backfield. Crouch calls his own number straight ahead to the 10 to the 8. Just following behind that big left side of the offensive line, John Rutherford. Taniu Fanuti.
You know, it's all about numbers. When you spread people out, you put 2 wide receivers out here, put another wide receiver out here. Now you've removed those guys from the box. That's a lead blocker right there, that other back. And you have Eric Crouch, who is a quarterback, running back / Heisman Trophy hopeful.
I'm surprised he's calling his own number at times, because Frank Solich told us a couple of weeks ago and reiterated last night to us that they're trying to cut back on some of the plays because he is getting a lot of bumps and bruises. Did not practice on Wednesday.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is there a better number to call on that offense?
No.
Okay.
But you don't want to get him hurt for the rest of the season.
I think that's newspaper talk.
Gee, you're used to that? Well, that'll set up a 4th down and just about a half a yard. And the Huskers are going for it, as one might expect.
I think Judd Davies, number 4, is the key guy. You've seen him go in motion. Great lead blocker.
The linebackers at Tech right up on the line of scrimmage. Everybody pushing from behind. And that'll be a 1st down for Eric Crouch. Now Lawrence Flugens tried to get his head in there, standing at 6'1", 221 pounds. Not a very hefty middle linebacker. You're facing that big offensive line.
You don't know which body's coming at you.
So it's 1st and goal from the 6. They've tripled up on 1st down, straight ahead.
Nice penetration by Robert Wyatt, number 99. He gets the heel of Eric Crouch. And that's what they want. They want to penetrate. They want to get in the backfield quickly. See Curtis, number 31, there on the outside, ready to contain the quarterback. But it's a quick penetration. Now you got a chance. You're thinking, limit them to a field goal attempt. And that would be a huge victory right here.
Now loss of 6 on the play. 2nd and goal from the 12. The Texas Tech defense has been on the field a lot in this 1st quarter and then some here in the 2nd. 2 wide receivers to the right. Buckhalter, right side, inside the 10, down to about the 8. Flugens again on the tackle. This is a young man who is improving every week, and this is the 1st year he's ever played this position. And you can just see he's getting more and more confidence as the weeks go on.
Ruffin McNeil, the middle linebacker coach, looked at this guy when they were trying to figure out who was going to play middle linebacker for us. Here had been a defensive end last year. When you come out of high school, you're used to playing stuff and play with his hand down. Last year they moved him to the middle linebacker. And so just superbly instinctive, just picks things up very easily.
16th play of the drive. 3rd and goal from the 8. Crouch into the flat, pass is complete. Touchdown, Nebraska, John Gibson. His 1st touchdown of the year.
What should be easy becomes complicated because they run the ball so well. That time you just simple little out pattern with a slant pattern on the outside. Everyone's stuck inside because of Nebraska's power.
Well, the senior probably will want that game ball. And Josh Brown on for his 3rd extra point attempt of the evening. Slides it through the right upright. John Gibson not only his 1st of the year, how about the 1st of his career? A little out pattern, and Nebraska leads by 3 touchdowns in Lubbock. Kudos to John Gibson, his 1st career touchdown. He makes it a 21-0 game, 10:47 left to play in the 2nd quarter. Along with Eric Clemens and James Lofton, I'm Ron Thulin. We are seeing the number 1 team in the country. The number 2 team has already fallen to Oklahoma. Nebraska wants all the votes. Come tomorrow. Texas Tech will take over 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Very impressive drive, 71 yards, 16 plays.
Almost half a quarter that scoring drive, and they used a lot of different elements. You saw Crouch, saw Bobby Newcomb, Dan Alexander, Buckhalter. Everyone got involved. Everyone got their touches on the football. Frank Solich did a nice job in mixing it up. The option didn't work early, brought it on in that. This is an offense that is very hard to defend because so many people touch the football.
Well, Tech has only 18 yards passing. They go with 4 wide receivers, 2 on the top of your screen, 2 on the bottom. And then they run it. It has been a big day here at Fox Sports Net at College 11, Washington squaring off against Arizona State. That'll be coming up immediately following the Texas Tech-Nebraska game. Well, you got to snap it before you can run. Boy, Texas Tech's offense, I don't think we've seen them this year. We've seen tape of just about every game. This out of sync.
Before the snap, false start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, remain second down.
And I was here at practice on Thursday. They piped in crowd music. They ran hand signals. They didn't use a count. And I talked to Coach Mike Leach about it. He said, you know, we're trying to do it because it improves concentration. When they don't have the verbal part of it, they have to concentrate even harder. And this is a ball club, I think, that came out sky high and just is having a hard time focusing right now.
Second down and 13. Empty backfield. Nebraska rushing just 3. They swing it out. A quick pass. Maybe up to the 15-yard line. Pass is complete. It's Rashad Williams.
But that's a 2-yard loss on that pass play. I mean, you talk about a controlled passing game. You want to get the ball out quickly. Once in a while, your quarterback is going to have to try and take those looks down the field and see if your guys can beat the one-on-one coverage.
How about an ominous sky, I guess you can call that, with a little rainbow behind the silo here in Lubbock, Texas. Let's hope the rain stays away. Third down and 14. Nebraska with 7 on the line. And here they come with 6. Kingsbury throwing it up for grabs, and that will go to nobody.
We got a flag down, but he's got to try and hit those guys in stride a little more, give them a chance to make the catch. I mean, this ball is overthrown by almost 15 yards.
And yet another holding penalty.
Going to watch Kingsbury. It's an all-out blitz. Doris beats his man to the inside. There's not a lot of room there, but he can thread that ball in there and make that throw.
I think you're absolutely correct. Well, they've already had 4 penalties for 25 yards, and we're not even through a half, and they're going to have to kick it away into a stiff wind. Clinton Greathouse back to kick it away, standing on his own 1-yard line.
Nebraska should end up operating on a short field again.
And this is an awful kick. This won't make it to the 30. We talked about in warm-ups, he was really struggling with the wind and against the wind. I'd say 2 out of every 4 were being shanked, and he showed it right there. That punt will go down officially as a 13-yarder. Not too many things going right for the Red Raiders at Texas Tech. 8:55 left in the first half, and they trail 21-0. Previous #1 team since 1977. They've lost to them all. Texas, SC, Washington, and Nebraska back in '94. And right now they're on the short end of a 21-0 stick. After the 13-yard kick, Nebraska will take over 1st and 10 from Texas Tech 28-yard line. Dan Alexander is checked back into the lineup for the Huskers. Boy, this is right into Nebraska's hands. Straight ahead running. Alexander close to the 20, and for a Dr. Pepper game break, here's Kevin Frazier in our College Football Saturday studio. Well, Florida State taking out a little frustration maybe on the Blue Devils. Pickup of 6 on the play. 2nd down and 4. This time they try the left side, and again it is Dan Alexander. Well, both coaches have replaced legends. Frank Solich taking over, of course, for Tom Osborne. Mike Leach taking over the helm after Spike Dykes retired. Dykes here 13 years, and both have glowing things to say about their former coaches here. Mike Leach saying that Spike Dykes is always available to him, always can talk. Spike spending his time losing weight and playing golf, we understand.
You know, I'm still surprised at the criticism that Frank Solich got with a 9-4 season the first year.
3rd down and a smidgen. Crouch is just going to call his own number and get it. You bring up a good point. A couple of years ago when Frank was going through a difficult time, they had some players that had gotten into some trouble. They had injuries, and everybody was saying, well, this Nebraska is dead. It's not the same. But one thing Frank Solich has always done, he's coached within himself. He hasn't tried to become something he really wasn't, and his players understood that, and he's always stayed the course.
Yeah, but you're talking about a man who was an assistant for 19 years, and he became the assistant head coach in '91, so he knew he was in line for something bigger.
Crouch runs the option, fakes the pitch, keeps it. Shoved out of bounds at about the 16-yard line. One of the things the Nebraska linemen are known for are chop blocks, and the Texas Tech Red Raiders worked on keeping their feet this week.
But in that run zone area, see him going straight down. He goes right down to Wyatt, and then he sticks that hand out. And this is all about effort. You know, you put forth that effort on the offensive line, and you wonder why an offensive lineman would fight and scrap that hard. It's all about pride. You know, they pick up the newspaper, and they see we had 350 yards rushing.
2nd down and 9. Crouch is going to air it out, puts it up, pass is complete. Nope. Yep, it is. At about the 8-yard line. Kevin Curtis was right on the play to defend it.
You know, when a guy is about, what is Jed Dayton? 6'1", 250 pounds?
Maybe.
He doesn't look great going deep, but you know what? He elevates to go up for this ball. So I'm impressed. You know, guys this big, they've been in that weight room, they hit that squat rack, they get up, he goes up, and he puts this ball away with one hand before he comes down. Takes a wallop, too. I bet he didn't feel it.
Well, that's only his 2nd reception of the year, and you can see what Crouch has done tonight. Straight ahead, he takes a pop on 3rd and 2. And it's going to be very, very close. Our Verizon line, it's tough to see. John Bible's going to look it over. Yeah, looks like he's going to be marked
a little bit short. We're coming into the ball game, 4th down conversions. Nebraska, they've been 4 out of 7 coming in. That's pretty good when you can convert that many. But Nebraska, so many short yardage situations. They end up 3rd and 2, 4th and 1. They're not going to have a 4th and 8 that they're going to be trying to go for. It's 4th and a foot at the most.
1 for 1 today on 4th down conversions. They've got the 1st down, 1st and goal from the 3. That is so tough to stop. When you have Alexander at 245 pounds, a guy that almost more than half of his yardage comes after contact, that's tough to stop.
I think the toughest thing is the 2 lead blockers go right. Alexander goes left, and he's a big enough load to get it all by himself. 6 foot, 245 pounds, been under the knife a couple of times with knee injuries. You look at this guy, he's just a physical specimen. But the biggest thing, when he's at the dinner table, he had a big smile on his face Friday night.
Straight ahead running, Tech trying to stop him up at the line of scrimmage, and I think they're going to mark it right at about the 1-foot line. And it'll be 2nd and goal. You talk about Alexander. Here is a guy that #1 in the Big 12 in yards per carry, averaging over 6 yards a carry. And last year, people were saying he doesn't have the speed to go outside. He's not the eye back with a lot of flash and dash. And all Mr. Alexander has done is spent time in the weight room and proved all his critics wrong.
Time in the classroom, 3-time All-Academic Big 12.
Crouch on the keeper, waiting for the signal. Still haven't gotten it from the head linesman, Don Capel. There it is, Don.
To Nebraska fans in the stands, and it's hard to distinguish which red is Nebraska, which red is Texas Tech, but the hands that are clapping are obviously the fans from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Well, the Texas Tech faithful, over 50,000 on hand, and they are shell-shocked. Their team has played extremely well this year, but it hasn't been the case in the first 20 minutes today. Brown trying to become 4 for 4, and he will split the uprights with 5:04 to play in the first half. Nebraska leads it convincingly, 28-0. When we return, we'll send you back to Kevin Frazier at our College Football Saturday studio with a preview of our Nissan halftime reports. Thank you, Kevin. Looking forward to that. You can see the just absolutely incredible sky here. The fans have just been warned that lightning and hail could be on the way. This kick will sail out of the end zone, and Texas Tech 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Well, Eric, Nebraska's running game is in high gear, and history tells us that Texas Tech is in for a long day if it continues.
Yeah, it's already been a long day for Texas Tech and their fans, Ron. Nebraska's won 101 straight games when they rush for 300 or more yards. Right now, just over half that at 168 still in the first half. They're 179-5 over the last 28 years. They failed to reach that mark only once this year and still beat Notre Dame in overtime. Another bad omen. There is a lot of lightning to the southeast, so I want to, get under some shelter.
Don't blame you. They've also won 224 straight games when they score better than 35 points. And they're on the way to that. Kingsbury's pass incomplete, intended for Baker. Baker didn't turn his head quick enough, James.
Yeah, but it's also a tough call for the umpire. A lot of pushing and shoving. The ball's in the air. The umpire's trying to get out of the way of the defenders, and he doesn't see Baker actually getting pushed while that ball's in the air.
Red Raider fans, show your spirit for a chance to win.
Kingsbury giving the hand signals. You can see the numbers on him, only 27 yards. They only have -3 yards running the football tonight. So this much maligned Nebraska defense really standing tall tonight. It's a free play. Kingsbury knows it, lofts it up, and the pass is going to be incomplete, and that could have been offensive interference.
Man, it could have been a personal foul by Doris. He just goes and he shoves. I think that's Keo Craver at the tail end of the play, or is it Joe Walker?
It's offside, 5-yard penalty, repeat second down.
In a game like this, though, even though you're on the short end of the stick, you cannot afford to lose your poise because still anything can happen. If the rains come, who knows what can happen, especially with Nebraska's history putting the ball on the ground. Kingsbury has really struggled with this Nebraska defense. They're getting the penetration tonight that they haven't gotten in the previous games. And you can see Nebraska with 5 penalties, Texas Tech with 4. Kingsbury, a little play action. Pass almost intercepted. Intended for Darrell Jones, but DeJuan Gross was right there.
Kingsbury's pass intended for number 87, Darrell Jones.
They try and get these guys open into the field, and here they're coming across, but he has his eyes to the right side of the field, so he never sees them. And when you come across the middle of the field, it's like going across a landmine. Guys are going to try and bump you off.
Jamie Burrow just kind of reached out and grabbed Baker, trying to hold on to him. 3rd down and 5. Kingsbury's pass is complete to Ricky Williams, and he can't keep his feet. Gets up to the 25, and that'll bring up a 4th down situation. Williams had some running room, just couldn't get the hoofs underneath him.
Trying to settle his quarterback down. We talked to Mike Leach before this ball game and said, we don't want to put an S on their chest and turn them into Supermen. Well, I think they put the S on their own chest in this ball game so far.
Greathouse's last kick was 13 yards, and he's kicking into the wind again. This time a little bit better, but the wind catches it right at the 50. Hits at about the 45, and that is where it will bounce out. Nebraska again with a short field. And Crouch is going to go upstairs. Over the middle, has a man. Pass knocked away, incomplete, intended for Tracy Wistrom, looking for his first catch of the evening.
So normally when you have a play action pass, you're going to send a guy deep and you'll have a dump off receiver. They had 3 guys going deep, Wistrom down the middle. A nice defensive effort. You see Curtis in there getting a hand on the football. Nice throw by Crouch. He almost had it on target, but just one too many defenders back there.
Mark Washington also in on the coverage. 2nd down and 10. Now Nebraska's starting to widen things out. But they'll keep it on the ground. Darren Diedrich, the sophomore out of Scarborough, Ontario, Canada, into the game. The youngster, 6 foot, 220-pounder, only his 10th carry of the year. And we got a taste of this young man last year. Really impressed us with his toughness and his quickness. This year, Frank Solich says the biggest thing that stands out is his patience. Playing behind Alexander and Buchalter, coming off his best game of the year last week against Iowa State at 39 yards. Third down and 8 for the Huskers. Texas Tech hasn't stopped them tonight. Crouch, pass incomplete, almost picked off. Alexander had a hand on it.
Crouch has to be a lot more accurate than that. He's trying to mini roll to the right. He has to set his feet, just throw that ball. His receiver runs a good route. He's open. Have to put it on the numbers.
And Nebraska will be forced to kick it away.
Did you come after him right here? Nebraska's had some problems in the kicking game.
I think you have to do something to make to get this game going, get some enthusiasm. Tech coming at Haydenfeld. Don't get it. Good-looking kick. And it will hit at about the 15-yard line. But again, Texas Tech will be backed up. Well, the expectations for Nebraska are high every year. Frank Solich says they just adjust to them.
You have a learning process that you go through. I think you get better and you get more comfortable at being a head coach. And so I think I've come through that just like every other head coach has come through it. But it's not that I did not feel comfortable taking over for Coach Osborne and taking over this program. But certainly, things can go a little smoother, and some of the decisions you make can be a lot easier after you've had some repetition at those kind of things.
Well, he hasn't let the expectations of Nebraska football overwhelm him, especially the expectations after taking over for Tom Osborne.
False start on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
5th penalty on the Red Raiders. First, Tom Osborne now running for the U.S. Congress, and we understand Dr. Tom has about 80% of the votes in Nebraska for that election coming up, and you can see what all three of the big names in Nebraska football have done over the last few years. Now, not a bad record.
They put Bob on the bottom, and his record was the best. Bob Devaney, 28-3.
First down and 15. Oh my. Boy, the false starts. What can Mike Leach do to stop this? Because it has been a problem the whole year, and again tonight.
You expect it on the road. You just go with a silent count at home.
On the offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Well, he was extremely concerned about it when he talked to us yesterday.
On the road, you'll have your offensive guard and the offensive tackle hold hands. Well, they're having problems at home. Do it at home, because the tackles are the guys who are moving. They're watching those ends instead of listening for the snap count.
Well, they've got 3-foot splits between the linemen. That's kind of tough to hold hands on that. Now it's 1st and 20 from the 5. And Nebraska's teeing off on it. Here they come. Kingsbury's pass, incomplete. Intended for Darrell Jones, the junior out of Lubbock Coronado High School. Sprinkling a little bit here on the field. Let's just hope that bad weather that we were just alerted to by the PA system stays away. It'll clean out this 50,000 quickly.
Well, from our viewpoint, we've seen lightning to the north, to the east, and also to the south. So it's all around us. It looks like it is moving in closer.
We can't see to the west. Just over a yard per play. Well under their season average. Oh, look out. Ball's loose. Kingsbury running for his life, and he will scamper out of bounds at the 7-yard line. Carlos Polk showing no ill effect from that ankle injury suffered in the Missouri game. Putting the pressure on along with John Clanton, the sophomore out of Glendale, Arizona.
And when a linebacker stares at you from across the line of scrimmage, you know he wants to get you. Get near that sideline, you get out of bounds. You don't let Mr. Polk hit you.
Butkus candidate. We had a chance to spend some time with him 2 weeks ago, and he is an amazing young man, a personable young man.
You were afraid of him.
I was scared silly of him. After he broke my hand when he shook it, yeah, that tended to throw some shivers down my back. 3rd down and 19. Nebraska's showing blitz. They bring 5. Kingsbury has to dump it off. Shad Williams looks to get up to the 20, and he does, but he will be well short of the first down. They still look like they're hesitating, even on that.
They've got to get used to the dump-off play. We were watching Josh Heupel play earlier. He's played in that offense for 2 years now. Oklahoma, and he dumped the ball off the first 2 plays of the game against Kansas State. Now, I almost think that's a good way to get your running backs involved in the ball game. Let them get the feel of the ball. They all want to run the football. That's why they came here. They were running backs. Now you're throwing the ball. Get them the ball early. Get them involved.
Greathouse standing on his own 6, kicking into that stiff wind again. And again he shanks it.
Got to get some roll if he gets lucky. Didn't get lucky.
It did cross the 50, but not much farther than that. May have gotten down to the Nebraska 48-yard line. And East Carolina, always a tough team. And Nebraska taking over again. 1st and 10 from their own 47-yard line. Crouch going upstairs. The ball is tipped, almost intercepted. Hunt tipped it. Devin Lemons almost came down with it.
And you talk about big plays, and when a team needs a big play, I mean, that would have jump-started this ball club if he can stay on his feet, get a little run back, you get your offense in a position where they can actually see the goal line. I mean, they've been backed up so much the last couple of drives, they haven't even sniffed midfield lately.
No. And the Texas Tech defense has struggled. Greg McMacken has had great success on the collegiate and NFL level. Buckholder, right side, running room. He is finally brought down by a combination of Alexander and Washington. But not before he picked up 20 on the play.
Yeah, Kevin Curtis, number 31, the strong safety. He's coming on a blitz. What you have to do, you have to check the offensive line. If they set for a pass and then they immediately go, you know it's going to be a run. He runs right past the play. There he is. Now he's in a chase position. It's not a good position to be in as a defensive back.
And they're doing this against the number 2 defense overall in the NCAA. Crouch, straight drop, has plenty of time, lost it, pass is picked off. First interception of the game for Texas Tech. John Norman coming down with it, his 2nd of the year.
The strength of Nebraska is play-action passing, not the drop-back pass game. Watch the tight end. He's going to release and go to the corner. Ball is just underthrown. You actually get a crossing route. They crossed me up. John Norman does a good job in dropping back in coverage. There was no one underneath, so you just continue to drop back. Goes up with one hand. Just a little too much air under that football. Get him that ball as he's crossing. See it early and get him the ball early.
Well, his brother Josh had a big day for the Sooners today. Now he has a big day tonight. Kingsbury, they run a little pick play. Pass is complete up to the 28-yard line. Derek Doris with the reception. The senior out of Azle, Texas. Had a career-high 9 receptions versus Baylor last week, but this is a completely different defense. Closing in on 65 seconds to play in the half. Texas Tech wanting to get on the board before halftime.
12 men in the huddle.
And then we have another penalty. 12 men in the huddle.
And Mike Leach is furious because, number one, they didn't huddle. You run your receiver out, you run him past the numbers, you're supposed to be okay. That sideline is furious. They want a conversation with the official, and he's not getting it in the timely manner that he would want to, so he's using some of those words that he used in law school.
He does have his law degree from Pepperdine. Said he chose to go into coaching. So he didn't want to wear a suit right away. Thought he'd coach for about a year. Kingsbury, the short pass, complete. First down for Texas Tech, and finally they get some offense going with Derek Doris.
Short crossing route. Doris comes across the traffic. One of the key guys in the traffic is the umpire. You saw him stepping up in that black and white uniform. He can actually knock off the guys he's chasing. Doris, get everything you can. Don't take the extra hit. Get out of bounds. Good job. Stop the clock. Absolutely. Line up for another play.
57 seconds left. 1st and 10. From the shotgun, Nebraska only bringing 4. Kingsbury, penalty flags. Will have another holding call. Ricky Williams spinning, taking a couple of hits. Mark Vedral coming up from the linebacker spot to make the stop, but it will be yet another penalty on Texas Tech. And another hold. Just when you think they're getting some momentum with the interception, a couple of passes to Doris, Mike Leach's squad, boom, penalty, puts them back.
But a great job up front. You're not getting the sacks, but you're getting the holding calls, the hands in the face, and the illegal procedure penalties.
Holding on the offense, 10 yards from the previous spot, remains first down.
Now coming up at halftime, we will have our Nissan halftime report. Kevin coming up on our Nissan halftime report. 48 seconds left to play in the half. 2 wide receivers to the left, 1 to the right. Carlos Polk showing blitz right over center. Texas Tech using about 15 seconds to snap it off the game clock. They finally complete the pass. Looking for the sideline. Finally being run out of bounds. Keogh Craver running Derek Doris out. And again, Kingsbury takes a lick. We have 20 seconds left in the half.
Kingsbury's waiting on those crossing routes. And when you run 25 yards across the field, that's same as running 25 yards down the field. He's holding the ball a long time. His offensive line is doing a decent job protecting him. If you can run those guys short, you can run a guy deep also.
Second and 15. Kingsbury going for the fade route, and it is going to be incomplete, intended for Doris. Now, you talked to some of the wide receivers on Thursday. You watched a lot of tape, and you talked about them running this fade route, and also when we saw Doris running across the middle, turning up the field quicker. What's your assessment right now of the wide receivers? I think they're struggling right now, and they tried to go against Erwin Sweeney right there, number 16. Erwin Sweeney was the state champion at the 100 meters when he was a senior in high school. He beat Eric Crouch. He's from Skyline High School originally, moves up to Omaha, wins the state championship there. Nebraska says, this guy looks pretty good. He is one of their best defensive backs. And now it is 3rd and 15. Ricky Williams can't get the handle. He heard footsteps. Mark Vedral at 205 pounds, the linebacker out of Gregory, South Dakota, coming up. And I think Ricky may have seen him coming at full speed, and he doesn't look like that left arm's feeling so hot right now. Yeah, you get a little burner. You get hit on that shoulder. It starts to tingle. It goes numb. He hasn't played injury-free this whole year. Texas Tech's going to go for it. Only 10 seconds in the half. But they're throwing into a stiff wind. And a stiff pass rush. Kingsbury's pass is complete. Up to the 45-yard line. And Texas Tech is going to call a timeout. Wes Welker is the recipient of the pass. And I blew Ricky Williams' injury off as just a little burner, but that looks like it's a lot more serious than that. Ricky Williams missed football about a year and a half when you take into consideration the knee surgery. And Mike Leach, the head coach of Texas Tech, says Ricky Williams has done everything they've asked, and they expect him to come back at full strength.
Ricky's work ethic's incredible. I've never seen anybody work any harder than Ricky to get back. I think the biggest thing, anytime you miss football for a year and a half, there's some timing problems, and then also I think he's still getting strength back in his knee, and as far as his team presence and how hard he works at it, I think that's great, and I think he's getting better all the time. But this looks like it will set him back a little bit. Nebraska taking over on downs with 4 seconds left, and Crouch is going for one more. Throwing it with the wind, airs it out, overthrowing everybody, including the black jersey of Antoine Alexander, and that's the way the first half will end. But it was vintage Nebraska football. Ricky Williams and company going up against the stout Cornhusker defense. And here's Frank Solich with Eric Clemens.
Okay, Coach, up to now we saw that Nebraska power football. We all talk about your assessments of the first half and your team's performance.
I think we've done pretty well on both sides of the ball. I thought the defense really stepped it up, controlled things. Offensively, we've done a good job, but we've blown some opportunities, and we need to get to where we're throwing the ball a little bit better and making some bigger plays on that end of it. But overall, not a bad first half.
All right, Coach, good luck to your team in the second half. Frank Solich, his team up 28-0 here at the half. A very disappointed and quiet Texas Tech crowd. Now time for a Nissan halftime report. Kevin Frazier, Kellen Winslow, R.D. Gigantino to catch up.
Nebraska holding Texas Tech to just 85 total yards in the first half, taking advantage of miscues, and that's why the Huskers lead 28-0 along with James Lofton and Amran Thulin. At the start of the game, we talked about one of the keys for Texas Tech, protecting their quarterback, Cliff Kingsbury, and they've struggled with that in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's vital. They've got to do a lot better job in the second half. It doesn't matter whether he's taking a deep drop, a short drop, how far he's looked down the field. Even in a quick instance, they're putting him on his back. You see 1.6 seconds there. The next, it's a mid-range pass, and he ends up flat on his back again. 3 Cornhuskers on top of it. Now he finally has some time to look around in the pocket. Looks left, he looks right. No one's open down the field. You see Shawn Williams in the background. Number 19, a running back. He's 5 yards deep behind the line of scrimmage. And really, if you want to loosen up Nebraska just a little bit, get the running backs involved in the ball game.
Eric Clemens, what did Mike Leach tell his team at halftime?
Mike Leach said, Ron, that they are a lot better team than they showed in the first half. He said his guys played tight the entire first half. He told them, play loose, have some fun. You can get back into this ball game. By the way, Ricky Williams bruised his left shoulder late in the first half. He should return for play in the second, guys.
Thank you, Eric. Chase Long's kick, 5 yards deep into the end zone, and it is going to be brought out. Up to the 20-yard line is Wes Welker. Now the first half possessions for Texas Tech went like this. Their first two ended up in interceptions, and then you put a couple of punts, and then the loss of downs to end the first half.
That looks like the stock market the last couple of weeks.
It does, doesn't it? And that is un-Texas Tech-like offense, what they've shown so far this year. Now, granted, this competition level for Mike Leach's squad much higher than what he has faced, but still, we expected a little bit more than 85 yards from this team. But they are not out of it. They've got an uphill battle, no question about it. But this offense can be explosive. A quick pass to Darrell Jones. He gets up to about the 24-yard line. Cliff Kingsbury came in, completing 63% of his passes. Now 12 for 22 for only 87 yards. You throw in minus 2 yards rushing. That's why 85 total yards, but he also has been picked off a couple of times. I think you have to remember, too, this young man's only a sophomore. This is his first full season of starting. Last year he backed up Rod Peters. Started only one game. Nebraska on the blitz. Kingsbury reads it to Tim Baker for a first down. That's the quick passes that Mike Leach's offense is designed for.
Well, they suck everyone up near the line of scrimmage. You watch them all aligned up there. They come. You get rid of that ball quickly. You get a positive gain down the field. And when you run a lot of short passes, you can show toughness by putting your head down and running over a defensive back, the tail end of the play.
Baker, their leading receiver, that's his first reception of the evening. They keep it on the ground running. Ricky Williams is back into the lineup. Eric mentioned about the shoulder problem just near the end of the first half. One thing about the Texas Tech offense, we talked about the fact they run a mini field, but their average per completion is very, very low. Something like 6 yards of completion.
Yeah, 6.5 yards of completion. When you compare that with Nebraska, they're 17.2 yards per completion. They go downfield, play action pass. This one is a controlled passing game. They need to get a little extra control out of this. Here's a Statue of Liberty.
You don't see that very often, and Nebraska does not buy it whatsoever.
Remember when you ran that as a kid?
All the time.
Come behind you and pick the ball up. See Sean Williams getting up, limping a little bit. And the thing is, you have to move the linebackers a little bit. Those guys in a stationary position. Keough Craver comes up, he makes that tackle. Craver has moved from that outside cornerback position to kind of lining up over the inside slot man. He's the most physical of their defensive back. Doing a fine job tonight. There he is right up there at the top.
He's a Jim Thorpe candidate. They said they do a lot of moving on defense, Nebraska, and they've done that. Kingsbury's pass into the flat is complete. Up to the 50-yard line and into Nebraska territory, Wes Welker. That is Welker's second reception of the evening.
You talk about the zone blitz. You're going to have guys blitz from the outside. That time, Craver is coming from the outside. Pope kind of fakes up like he's blitzing. Then he reads the quarterback's eyes. Then he's kind of lumbering after the guy. And he's, this is AstroTurf. I can't stop fast on AstroTurf. My ankle hurts a little bit.
Pickup of 12 on the play and another first down for the Red Raiders. Welker in motion. Kingsbury hands it off, straight ahead running with Sean Williams. Shaking off that little stinger he had on the ankle just a moment ago. Williams, who stepped in last year for Ricky Williams, and he was the Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year. He has a little more flash than Ricky Williams, and talking to him before the game, Eric Clemens and I had some time to spend with Sean Williams, and every time we asked him a question, James was, yes, sir, no, sir. I like that young man.
It's just because you're old, they say yes, sir, too.
Old. That's right. That's a little scary. Nebraska blitzing again. Kingsbury standing in the pocket. Pass is complete to Jones. And he is close to another first down, and he gets up slowly. Pat Ricketts, the true freshman out of Omaha, on the coverage.
And we're seeing a little bit more about what this defense is supposed to be about. When we talked to Craig Bohl right there, the defensive coordinator, said this thing is tough to defend because they come at you from all angles. They get the ball out quickly. He said we need to pressure the quarterback. They've shut down the run. And when we do flush the quarterback out of the pocket, we'd love to flush him to his left because he doesn't throw well moving in that direction.
One thing about Nebraska, no matter what type of of offense they play, they can't change their basic defense. They stick with it because it works. Just like that. Ricky Williams wrapped up by Randy Stella, the junior out of Omaha, Nebraska.
You know, when you leak the running back out of the backfield like this, what you need is this guy to come in and block off on that linebacker so he can't creep out. See him? Make him go on the top, not underneath. He went underneath. An easy play for a linebacker to make. You've got a running back with great speed. Give him the ball out in space where he can turn up the field and do something with it.
Loss of 2 on the play, 2nd and 12. Kingsbury under pressure again. Pass is complete. Again, it is Tim Baker. And he is ushered out of bounds rudely by Pat Ricketts. But a pickup of 15 and another Texas Tech first down. Well, we've got a player down.
Yeah, you got Erwin Sweeney down, number 16. Mentioned he's their speediest defensive back. You get Baker coming across the field. There you see Baker going right there. And it's just a sprint to the other side of the field. Here's Sweeney coming in. He gets clipped at the end of the play. Nice peel back block. Everybody running, everybody alert. Doris, number 22, coming in, picking him off. You see 6'5", 205 pounds. And that's after a couple of hamburgers. And you see the first downs in this second half. You come out, you play with a little pride, you pick things up. One thing that they haven't done, they haven't shot themselves in the foot with penalties in this drive.
Knock on wood if you're Texas Tech. First down and 10.
Lean that head over here then.
That's right. On the 24-yard line of the Huskers. Here they come again. Kingsbury lofting it up. And one of the camera guys had a shot at catching that one. Pat Ricketts of Nebraska, the closest one. And Kingsbury shaking that right arm. He has spent a lot of time on this turf. And Carlos Polk again putting pressure on him.
But not a bad throw because every blitz is not going to be picked up. We see Carlos Polk, number 13, comes through with a clean shot on Cliff Kingsbury. He realizes, you know, the clock goes off. I get rid of this ball, line up the next down and try and work out something. They're all up.
Look at that.
They're all up.
Now they're backing off.
See Polk calling out the defensive signals in the middle. He wants to come.
And here he comes. Kingsbury swinging it out. Nice defensive play by Joe Walker.
Yeah, but they had that right there. They had the, I won't call it a pick, even though it is a pick. It's a rub. You rub the defensive man off. Right here, there's the inside rub. That ball's thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Baker, that ball goes in and out of his hands. He started to think about the end zone before he even caught the ball.
So now that sets up a 3rd down and 10 and the best drive of the evening for the Red Raiders.
I think we're in 4-down territory going into this little bit of a breeze for a field goal attempt.
Absolutely. Kingsbury with some time, tries to dump it off to no avail. Intended for Derek Doris.
When you're running those short crossing routes, you're either going to keep going if it's man-to-man coverage, or you're going to sit down if it's zone coverage. This is zone coverage. See the guy try and knock him off there. Doris sits down in the zone. Kingsbury overthrows him.
Well, Chris Burkholz has come in for the field goal, the senior out of Temple, Texas. 6 of 10 so far this year. His longest is 51. Rosilis will be the holder, and Burkholz telling me before the game, when you're kicking field goals into this end zone, it starts to swirl because it's an empty end zone. There's not a bowl on the end. This one will be marked at the 31, a 41-yard attempt into the wind. No problem for Chris Burkholz. So Texas Tech gets on the board on their opening drive of quarter number 3, but they still trail 28-3. Has given their fans something to cheer about. The field goal by Burkholz has cut the Nebraska lead down to 28-3. The masked rider on hand, one of the great traditions here at Texas Tech. Along with Bangin' Bertha, the big bell they will bang around here after a score. Here's the man to keep an eye on the kickoff returns, Wes Welker. He is a headhunter. Into the wind, a nice strong kick. Joe Walker lets it bounce. That'll be a touchback, and Nebraska 1st and 10 from their own 20. Eric Clemens, Mike Leach's team has got to be ready to play this second half.
They certainly are. He's one of the most laid-back coaches I've ever seen. Really calm with me coming out of the locker room. But late in the first half, he gathered his whole team around and gave them a mouthful, really, and told them emphatically, we will not lay down in this football game. Look for them to try some more when they get the ball back on offense.
Mike Leach in his first year, just 39 years old, a graduate of BYU. We mentioned his law degree. Now his defense needs to stand up to the challenge of Nebraska. To the right side, it is Dan Alexander. He gets up to the 30, pick up with 10. That should be good enough for a first down. Now, Mike Leach, just think 10 years ago, he was an equipment coordinator at Iowa Wesleyan. He has really risen on a fast rise, we should say, as a coach. Of course, he went to Kentucky, had the great success with Tim Couch, goes to Oklahoma for a year under Bob Stoops. Really tutored Josh Heupel, and that is why Heupel has the success he's having now.
They talked about that decision between law and football, and he said when he'd sit there in front of his refrigerator watching TV, he's thinking about plays, not about things in the courtroom.
Keeping it on the ground, and it's Dan Alexander again. Now, Mike Leach said the decision to be a football coach was fairly simple.
Well, the Australians wouldn't let me in immediately. In Samoa, I didn't know how I was going to make any money, and in coaching, I started working on a master's, and I could get a student loan. So that's kind of how it boiled down.
Like I said, his first option was going to Australia. His second was going to Samoa.
Always good to have a plan.
Even though it's a little different. On 1st and 10, there you see the power of Alexander. Just bowling his way over the line of scrimmage. He has had 100 yards rushing in 8 of the last 12 games. He's about 35 pounds heavier than any back Texas Tech has faced this year, with the exception of Jamar Toombs of Texas A&M. That has to be a shock.
You know, people wonder what kind of professional back he'll be, and I think if you get him in the right situation, both he and Correll Buckholder have a chance to play at the next level because they're big, they're physical, and they do a lot of things right, and they run north and south.
On 2nd and 5, again, just straight ahead running. On the first half, Nebraska's option by direction. We'll see which way they were the most successful. And it looks like just straight ahead and maybe to the right.
And I really believe in this ball game that running in between the tackles is the key, because you have a very physical team. The defensive ends for Texas Tech are more like big outside linebackers, can run right at these guys. When you try and get it out on the edge and you run wide, and Greg McMackin can get that feather defense and stretch you out, you have some problems. But Solich has done a good job in directing this attack.
Right now, they're not getting any penetration from their tackles. That play a little bit better, because this is an attacking and penetrating defense. But when you're playing Nebraska, it depends so much on your defensive tackles to try to make something happen. And that hasn't been the case so far tonight.
And I think the tough thing for Lawrence Flugans, number 51, you're a middle linebacker used to coming up and just knocking the tar out of running backs. Well, you come up and you try and knock the tar out of Dan Alexander at 6 foot 245, Buckholder about 215, Willie Miller 245 pounds. You're going up against guys who are bigger than you are.
This time they try the left side. Alexander leaning forward. Gets into Texas Tech territory. That'll send up the 3rd down and about 4 on the play.
Brings up 3rd down.
Same 11 players have started every game on defense for Texas Tech. Not very deep. They need those players to step up, and now they need them to step up on 3rd down and 4. This could be a big play for Texas Tech.
Robert Wyatt, number 99, had nice penetration on one defensive stop for the Red Raiders.
8 men in the box. They try the right side. First down and then some for the Huskers. Dan Alexander again.
And Alexander the ball carrier.
Football is about playing 11 on 11. Most of the time, your quarterback is just out of the system. He hands the ball off and he gets out of the way. This time, Eric Crouchy goes up, gets just enough of a block on Flugans, the middle linebacker, to keep him from closing that hole down. Dan Alexander, he knows that Crouch is a devastating blocker and that he can run behind him at any time. Okay, maybe not devastating.
Maybe not devastating, but it gets in the way of people. 1st and 10 on 36. Reverse to Newcomb. Being tracked down, and he is going to be ushered out of bounds.
Mark Washington, number 8 on that play. And that's not what you want to do against this defense. That's Aaron Hunt, number 9, excuse me. It's amazing when your defensive end runs like a free safety. but you're not going to be able to run those reverses and the misdirections on this team because the defensive ends, they stay at home, they stay wide, they take their track, they do what they're supposed to do. And a good defensive unit will not try and do the other player's job. They stay at home.
Loss of 1. On the pitch, Alexander. This time he is met in the backfield.
And there's Aaron Hunt, number 9 again. We'll call it right this time. From Denison, Texas, just north of Dallas. Take I-35 north about 25 miles, and there you are in Denison. You know, you can shut down one guy, pitch, number 15, watch the right guard pulls, and he gets him. It almost looks like he's cutting the guard down. When somebody that big comes at you, sometimes you just try and get small. But a nice job by Aaron Hunt, number 9, right at the point of attack. They've tested his way twice. That's a go left now, young man.
3rd down and 12. Crouch seeing a blitz. They set up the screen to the 30. Alexander to the 25. Aaron Hunt catching him from behind, but once again, Dan Alexander showing his versatility, and it will be another Nebraska first down.
Nice job by Eric Crouch. Once he takes the ball from the center, he's going to roll to his right, and he lets the whole defense come in, and they assume, hey, we've got a chance to really knock the tar out of Crouch. And look at that. See the back there? And 3 guys in front of them. They're going to run down the field, and it's just a pursuit from behind, and that's effort. You're down in the ball game, but you still make an effort to try and make plays.
Then they go back to the bread and butter. Willie Miller, the fullback. A senior out of Omaha, Nebraska, doesn't get a whole lot of carries, was a very good high school running back, had over 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns his senior year. Now his main job is blocking, and he says he's really learned to enjoy it.
You know, the thing I noticed about Willie Miller when I'm looking at his stats, and you look at all the running backs for Nebraska, Willie Miller does not have a carry for minus yardage this year.
That's amazing.
He's going forward.
All the time.
He's kind of like a downhill skier. Nothing's going to stop him but a brick wall.
233 yards rushing the football. Add a couple more onto that. The Nebraska guards, do they pull on every play?
They pull, they step around, good movement. They just don't fire off straight. They come at angles. And I think that's what makes them so impressive. And, you know, you talk about the size of them, 305 pounds as an average. That's not huge for an offensive line. You know, we see Leonard Davis down at Texas, the big left tackle for the Longhorns. He's about 360 pounds. Nebraska doesn't have a guy that's overwhelming, but they're all very good athletes, and they move well.
Nia Finoti, the big left guard, he averages 15 pancake blocks a game. Pass complete to Davison inside the 5-yard line.
I talked to Ron Brown, the wide receivers coach, before the ball game, caught him on the sidelines. He had come out early and said it's too tough just to sit in the locker room and wait for the game. And John Gibson, number 8, he's getting a chance to step up because Wilson Thomas is at home with an ankle injury. And that's twice that they've thrown the ball to Gibson. And he's caught that ball right in those hands. It's been kind of that ball where it's just goes, just sticks in there. This guy has good hands.
Well, he's got good face makeup there. I don't think they're going to get a whole lot of argument tonight on Nebraska being number 1. How about 3 for 3 in the red zone? Alexander, he is hit behind the line, but he falls forward up to about the 4-yard line. Well, tomorrow on America's favorite pregame show, he's hard
entertaining hour.
I think we're second.
Okay. But that's NFL.
But it's close. 3rd down and 2. Miller straight ahead, touchdown. Only his 2nd rushing touchdown of the year.
And you see Eric Crouch coming over to him, congratulating him. You realize the guys who are doing all the dirty work. And Willie Miller talked about his blocking. Willie Miller is the player who does the dirty work. And Eric Crouch, the first guy over to him, and excited for him because, yeah, he's getting his dog biscuit now.
His dog biscuit?
His dog biscuit.
Okay. 80 yards. It took him 15 plays, and again, a very impressive Nebraska drive. As Josh Brown adds the extra point. All-time, Nebraska is 286-1 when they score 35 or more points. That's where they are right now with 3:51 left in the 3rd. Nebraska answers the Texas Tech field goal with a touchdown. They lead with 3:51 to play in the 3rd, 35-3. James Lofton, Eric Clemens, Ron Thulin coming your way from a windy Lubbock, Texas, but we've dodged the weather. Kissed that one goodbye. Wes Walker will not want any piece of that. Chase Long's kick. Willie Miller, the big fullback out of Omaha, Nebraska. Saw his parents last night at the Hotel of Nebraska. Willie Sr. Willie married back in June 3rd, so he's one of the married players on the Huskers team this year. I got to get one of those hats, though, James. I think I look pretty good in that.
I think you'd look very good in that.
You lying dog. We'll wear that golfing next week.
I think you'd look better in that hat right there.
Also, Texas Tech has to do something offensively. They were a little bit more impressive on the opening drive of quarter number 3, trying to get back into this football game. Only were able to manage the field goal. Cliff Kingsbury on that fade route again. Derek Doris comes down with it, but they're saying he's out of bounds.
They're saying he's juggling it, and that guy's making the call from behind. I think that's the official who's actually on the opposite side who needs to make that call. But both of them are on top of him. See the ball coming down? Yeah, that ball's out. It's out. You know, they throw this ball a little too close to the boundary. When we talked to Mike Leach about it yesterday, you want that ball to drop in on the outside shoulder. That one's just floating toward the boundary. Getting a little wind out there, and that's pushing it off target.
They really use the numbers on the field as a barometer of where they are when they throw that football.
Those are your landmarks, and those hashes and all that stuff.
Nebraska rushing 6. Kingsbury going upstairs, has a man. It is complete to the 50-yard line. Wes Welker, the freshman from Oklahoma City, Heritage Hills High School, a small high school in Oklahoma, and Cliff Kingsbury gets up limping.
And he's trying to smile it off. I've never seen him get up with a grimace. He kind of has that smile, and I think the bigger the smile, the more it's hurting. See the hand signal coming in from Mike Leach. They signal in all the plays with the hand signal. There's no huddling here. They go directly to the line of scrimmage.
Now, he took some kind of hits versus Texas A&M. The Aggies and R.C. Slocum's squad blitzing him a lot, and he just kept getting up. He is a tough young man. Saw him at Texas last year. Got beat up quite a lot. Little shuffle pass. Nothing doing.
Now, this pass has been called shovel, shuttle.
I went with you, though.
What else do you?
No, shuttle, shovel, or shuffle. Now, Mike Leach said shuttle, and that's what I said.
Mike Leach was wrong.
Craig Bold, the defensive coordinator, said
shovel.
And you say?
You shovel it forward.
You can shuttle it forward, too. You're from Stanford. You're much better than me. Now, penalty flags are going all over the place. Texas Tech faces 2nd and 11 right at midfield. John Bible's got more airtime and FaceTime on camera than we have tonight.
Before the snap, defense team to false start. That's a 5-yard penalty. Remain 2nd down.
Well, Tech gets a little bit of a break. Mark Vedral going out. Vedral was actually the starter at the after spring drills. Randy Stella taking over and is not giving that spot up. You see the numbers on Kingsbury, 166 yards. Out of New Braunfels, Texas, just outside of San Antonio, and there is another false start.
Paul Erickson, the left tackle. Those defensive linemen are starting to come across, and you don't get that neutral zone penalty here. They can come across, and you still cannot move.
Well, they were given 5 yards, and they gave it right back again.
You know, I think the toughest thing in college football is, and you play at the professional level, the linebackers are going to be number 50s or maybe number 90s. Here you have linebackers who are number 9. You bring a defensive back who's number 39, a linebacker who's 13, and it's tough to really pick out who the linebackers are and who the defensive backs are in your different sets.
It's tough because you do use the numbers to find out who's blocking you and where. Kingsbury going deep, has a man. Oh, my! Off the shoulder pads of Sean Williams. He was wide open and couldn't bring the pigskin in.
Nice tight spiral by Cliff Kingsbury into the wind. You get this ball, just fade with it a little bit, try and catch it in your hands. It goes right off the hands and the face mask.
Keogh Craver was 2 steps behind, and that young man is disappointed.
They knew he had 6. They had the perfect call. They had it set up. got the coverage they wanted and the time from the offensive line.
3rd down and 11. Nebraska with everybody but one on the line of scrimmage, and here they come. Kingsbury throwing it up, and it's going to be incomplete, and he takes another shot.
Polk is helping him up, but Polk is also knocking him down. Your center is responsible for the middle linebacker. That guy needs to come off. You see him block to the left, the center, Toby Cecil. They don't slide protect. They don't hinge. And Cliff Kingsbury will be a little bit black and blue tomorrow.
Polk has done yeoman's work tonight, and this Nebraska defense, you have to tip your hat to them after the last 2 weeks, what we've seen, especially Iowa State lighting them up for over 340 yards passing last week. Greathouse this time, one of his better kicks, still going to be short. Walker weaving his way over the 15 up to about the 18. The kick only 35, 4 on the return. Inside of 2 minutes in the 3rd quarter, and the Nebraska Cornhuskers showing why they are number 1. 1,000 Nebraska faithful have made their way from Lincoln, Nebraska down to Lubbock, Texas, and they're enjoying what they're seeing so far. They lead at 35-3 with 1:56 left to play in quarter number 3, and Carlos Polk and Keogh Craver, the mainstays of that black shirt defense, really doing a number tonight on a very potent Texas Tech offense. We said at the top of the show, whose defense will stand up first to stop the other offense? Well, it has been Frank Solich's Nebraska Cornhuskers. Well, Jamal Lord in at quarterback now for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, the redshirt freshman out of Bayonne, New Jersey. Trying to get him some snaps because Frank Solich understands that you have to have 2 quarterbacks on a national championship run. Get him some snaps now.
And I also think with Eric Crouch having missed practice on Wednesday, we don't want to risk him taking a further beating in this ballgame.
He's had some bumps and bruises. Of course, 2 weeks ago prior to the Missouri game, there was talk on the internet that Eric had broken his, let's see, it was the leg, then it was the larynx. But he just has normal bumps and bruises, and Texas Tech looking over one of their players. Looks like got the wind knocked out of him. John Norman.
Hello, Oscar Norman.
The outside linebacker out of Midland, Texas, Lee High School.
John has had a real storied career here. He plays linebacker. He's run back punts and kickoffs and lobbied Spike Dykes before the start of last season to play wide receiver also, and he also does a little face painting before the ball game, and has a younger brother who is playing, I think Josh Norman, who's playing wide receiver for the ball club right now.
Plays for the Sooners, Oklahoma Sooners. Devin Lemons, the right defensive end, says John Norman is nuts. Says he's a mild-mannered guy off the field, but once he paints the face, he is ready to play some football. Lord in at quarterback, and he's going to tuck it and keep it. Showing some speed as he nears the 30 up to about the 28-yard line. Well, Carlos Polk is truly one of the class acts of the Nebraska defense. With more on him, here's Eric Clemens.
Yeah, Carlos Polk played behind Jay Foreman here at Nebraska the last couple of years. Really started to come into his own in '99, and of course is the leader of their defense this year. He can sometimes be mean to opponents and his own teammates. He often brings his pet gator or crocodile named Debo into the locker room and scares some of his teammates. He scares me just standing a few yards away from him, guys.
And you see what he did last year in '99, first team All Big 12 as Nebraska keeps it on the ground. Orel Buckalder, the carrier. Rusty Boosie, the sophomore out of Katy, Texas. Just a sophomore who's coming off a very serious knee injury. Played the first 5 games of '99 and was injured. They had a great future plan for Rusty until he hurt his knee, hoping he'd come back to what he was.
I'm amazed when I look at all the players who come back from the ACL injury, the anterior cruciate ligament, and it used to be a year and a half. Now it's 10 months, and guys come back and they almost look like they're better than they were before.
1st and 10, we have a penalty flag. Little false start. That'll go against Nebraska. Lord's only thrown 3 passes coming into tonight.
False start on the offense. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
He's completed one. Bobby Newcomb looked like he was moving. How about Frank Solich? You know, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. You look at him. Here is a guy who played running back, for the Nebraska Cornhuskers under Bob Devaney was Bob's first recruit. He is the only Nebraska running back to rush for over 200 yards. That is amazing.
And he's going to make sure that it stays that way.
Yeah. Guy gets 195, he yanks him. Well, Eric's not going to have 200 yards rushing tonight. He has 52, but you can see 138 total yards. Still has his helmet on, so he may not be done for the night. Final 15 seconds of the third quarter. And Jamal Lord over the 35 up to about the 38-yard line. That should do it for quarter number 3. Busey again on the stop. 3 quarters are in the books from Lubbock, Texas. Nebraska wants to be the unanimous #1 team after Kansas State's loss today, and they're laying claim to it tonight. They lead at 35-3. 35-3. Along with James Lofton, I'm Ron Poulin. James, at the beginning of the show, we talked about the Nebraska defense was a little shaky, but I think they've, at least for the moment, have quelled all the talk about them having some problems.
Well, I think Craig Bowl has done a very good job in this ball game. Gotten his team to the point where they've really shut down the run. They said they want to do that. Only 4 yards for Tech on the ground, 165 through the air, but they have extinguished the flame that had been Texas Tech on offense.
Now you can see the game stats as we head into the final stanza here in Lubbock. Jamal Lord still at quarterback. Eric Crouch taking a couple of hits tonight, but was very efficient offensively. Lord on the option. The pitch back to Buckhalter, and he is dragging bodies with him as he nears the 40-yard line. What a 1-2 punch with Alexander and Buckhalter.
And what's funny is you think of Alexander as this huge, imposing running back, and then Buckhalter, you look at what he's listed at, 6 feet, 205 pounds. He looks bigger than that. I saw him when they were dining last night. He's a big physical guy, but he also has good speed. You saw the balance at the tail end of that run. And Jamal Lord, listed at 6'2", 210 pounds. He looks every bit that big, if not thicker. Remember talking to him a couple of weeks ago, he said, all I want to do is get into the ball game.
And Frank Solich wanted to get him into the ball game along with Darren Diedrich. Diedrich's had a carry tonight. Lord puts it in Buckhalter's belly, then pulls it right out, and he is going to be dumped. Picks up about 3 on the play. Dorian Pitts, the senior out of Lubbock Monterey High School, on the stop.
I think the toughest thing for a backup quarterback is you prepare all week. You don't want the starter to go down. But when you get on the bus or the plane to go back home after a ball game and you're not sore, you feel like you haven't contributed at all. If you're a backup running back, you're probably on special teams or defensive back. You're in the game playing, and here's a guy who, fancies himself as a good athlete, a point guard, a starter in high school, Mr. All Everything, and then you come and you're just on the bench. It's no fun.
Bobby Newcomb has some running room to the 30, down to about the 27-yard line, and he is going to be dragged down from behind by Curtis. We talk about Nebraska, how they wear teams down. That might not be the case this final 15 minutes because Frank Solich going into some of his second and third teamers, but this is a team that outscores opponents 56-14 in the final 15 minutes. That's just Nebraska football, vintage Nebraska football.
And you think about the offense wearing people down, but the defense also does too. We talk about the legendary black shirts and guys having to earn that honor to wear those black shirts. Well, it's a tough physical ball club, and they redshirt players, they hit the weight room, they get better as they get older, as they stay at Nebraska.
Straight ahead, Buckhalter is tripped up. Just a reminder, our quadruple header, we still have another game coming your way right after this one. We send you out to the Pac-10 with Washington and Arizona State. Steve Fiziak, Tom Ramsey, Lewis Johnson standing by for that.
Yeah, Flugents, this is just textbook linebacker work. You see him getting around the blocking because they're trying to get those 3 guys, the center and the 2 guards, on the tackle and then to peel off on the linebacker. Well, the linebacker stands still. Sure, they'll peel off on him, but Flugents does a nice job working around that and locating the running back.
Again, Nebraska marching down the field thanks to the run. Buckhalter left side, plenty of running room. 20, 15, 10, 5, down to the 3-yard line, loses the football. But he was down. They're going to mark it at about the 2. And this time it looked like Mr. Flugents got a little caught up in the traffic.
Oh, we talked about Flugents, and the key here is penetration. You can have penetration by the defense, or you can have penetration by the offense. That time, he tries to undercut the play And old Dominic is standing there, wants to give him a face full of fists, and does exactly that. But if you're going to scrape, you better get to it in a hurry.
And it'll be 1st and goal. They're putting it at the 3-yard line. How about that? Looking for 102 consecutive wins. And off right side, touchdown Nebraska. Correll Buckhalter taking it in, and again the ground game churning out the yards and putting up the points.
You know, we've become pretty conditioned to seeing a quarterback throw for 300 yards, and then we see Nebraska run for 300 yards on a routine basis, and I don't think we realize how impressive that is, because most teams, even if they're a good rushing attack around the country, a good benchmark would be about 175 yards. This is a team that's doubling that, so if they were a passing team, they'd be throwing for 500 or 600 yards a ball game.
Good analogy. And you have to give a lot of credit to Milt Tenneper, the offensive line coach. Here's a guy for Nebraska that's coached 6 Outland Trophy winners. He's really helped them build a strong bond the last couple of years. This is a group of young men that come together every summer. They work out, they push each other, and they take a great deal of pride in their pancake blocks and the fact they do have the ability to just run over people. And it starts with the man right there, Frank Solich.
You know what? We talk about weight room. Frank Solich still hits the weight room.
I remember him challenging Amon Green to push-up contests, and Amon gave up. This was about 4 or 5 years ago. Extra point by Josh Brown is good. And the Cornhuskers, who average just about 42 points a game, are at that number right now. They lead Texas Tech 42-3. Nebraska just keeps piling it on. 81 yards in 10 plays, just under 4.5 minutes, capped off by Correll Buckhalter's 3-yard touchdown run. Jamal Lord was the quarterback that led him, and that is why Nebraska leads 42-3. Wes Welker is back to receive the kickoff. Chase Long, the senior out of Wahoo, Nebraska. Another great kick into the wind, and Welker is going to take a seat. Verizon presents 1st and 10 all season long on Fox Sports Net College Football Saturday. Verizon, making the world of communications a whole lot simpler. And that's our 1st and 10 line, the yellow line you see that makes it very easy to see where a team needs to get. Thank you, Verizon. James Lofton, Eric Clemens, Ron Thulin coming your way from Lubbock, Texas, Jones SBC Stadium. That'll be undergoing some major renovations next year. Now they're going to re-kick. There was a penalty on the kickoff. And John Bible says, let's try this whole thing again.
Moving back 5 yards. That time he put it about 8 yards deep in the end zone. So if that leg is still warmed up and just enough juice in it, it's 3 yards deep in the end zone.
Oh, by the way,
Nebraska. There is Jamal Lord, the young redshirt freshman quarterback that led that drive, getting some PT.
yeah, guess what happens? We get ready tomorrow night.
And getting kudos from his teammates.
So if he's a redshirt freshman and Crouch is a junior, Crouch is a senior, he's a sophomore, and he takes over when he's a junior.
Right.
And has 2 full years to play.
And with the experience he's getting now, you can imagine what he could be like.
You get multiple number 10s out there. That's not Jamal Lord kicking off. He didn't get on the field that quickly.
Still Chase. Chase Long, the senior, who does the kickoff chores. Stan Haydenfeld sometimes kicks off for the Huskers. Long showing a pretty good leg. From the 5-yard line, it is Welker. Trying to get to the outside, but the white jerseys are there to stack him up at about the 13-yard line. Deontay Grixby, a fine running back on special teams, makes the stop. Well, you can see the scoring by quarters. 28-0 was our halftime score. Tech came out first drive of quarter number 3 to tack on the field goal, but Nebraska answered. And they've already answered here in the 4th stanza, and that all adds up to 42-3.
Cliff Kingsbury is going to try it out there again. And for Mike Leach, he looks at his quarterback, you look him square in the eye and say, okay, it's time to go out there and get better. And Leach preaching that one play at a time and trying to improve yourself each time you go out on the football field. It's a test for his young quarterback.
Kingsbury, whose father's a football coach, he's one of those guys who loves watching film. They tried a running game. Keogh Craver with a big-time hit on Shawn Williams.
Yeah, but this ball game has been about the black shirts, and those black shirts are for Nebraska. Carlos Polk, guy who has been in the middle of a lot of things, and then you see all 4 rushers just converging on. And there's Polk again going after the head. You can do that in college football. Look at those fouls, and number 98, Damani Adams coming around, and once again, Polk just knocking him down for good measure.
He has taken some shots tonight. Spike Dykes, former coach, had a great line, and it's not a derogatory line. And Kingsbury says he called him a football idiot. He said this guy will watch film. He does whatever it takes to be a better football player. First one to practice, last one to leave. And when he takes a hit, he says, I'm just going to get back up, coach. Put me back in. I don't hurt. I'll hurt on Sunday.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed about Cliff Kingsbury when we're watching film with the coaches on Thursday is that when he does get hit, when he gets hit in the pocket, his feet are off the ground. And that may sound like a small thing, but at 6'4", 200 pounds, he doesn't take a lot of blows when he's planted.
Now, one of our crew members injured on that last play. The man in the yellow jacket, Jim, our red hat, he makes sure that there's no action during the timeout. And he is one of the finest, what we call red hats. Make sure that everybody knows we're in a commercial, or a timeout coordinator. And John Bible coming over and talking to him, making sure he's okay.
The term red hat came from when they used to actually wear red hats a long time ago, when hats were either blue or white, but now you get red hats and lime green hats and purple hats, and so you just call them a red hat and you put them on something that's fluorescent, and looks like he's good to go now. You know what? We couldn't have gone without him.
How about Shawn Williams coming up and shaking him up and saying, "You all right?" from Texas Tech. Well, I'm glad he shaved this morning because he is on TV. He thought he was going to get a little airtime tonight. He did.
Kingsbury kind of short-armed that ball.
Yeah, should have hit the cutoff man.
Yeah.
Not a very good pass. Tough night for Kingsbury, but this young man is going to be very special in Mike Leach's offense. Once Mike Leach starts getting a little recruiting class under his belt, this is going to be a potent Texas Tech team. Tough recruiting here in Texas, even though there's 1,200 high schools that all play football.
I think there are 1,200 colleges.
Yeah, it seems like it at times. Kingsbury's going to be pressured, tries to scramble. Look out. Look out. Caught from behind by Randy Stella, the linebacker out of Omaha. Smallest linebacker of that linebacking core for the black shirts, but here's a young man that's made great strides, and Kingsbury again got a little hitch in his giddy-up.
And you talk about recruiting in the state of Texas, and we're trying to figure out how many schools play Division I football in Texas. You start way at the outskirts, you have UTEP.
Yep.
You move up, you have Baylor, TCU, SMU. You have the Big 12 schools, including Baylor, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, University of Texas. And I know there are a couple more that I'm leaving out.
Great house in his own end zone. Good snap, kicking with the wind, gets a nice high kick. Will not be returned. It heads out of bounds.
Ron Brown, the receivers coach, caught that on the sideline.
Got good hands.
Yeah, if he had bobbled it and dropped it, his players would have been all over him.
Would have never lived it down. 11:07 left in the ball game. We'll take a break, and on the other side, we'll send it to Kevin Frazier in our College Football Saturday studios.
It's a thriller.
I tell you, what a way to end up a quadruple header, huh, Kevin? You have all these great games today from Conference USA, and then we come to the Big 12 and we see the top-ranked team, and they are going to solidify that position tonight. And then we ended up with Washington, Arizona State. If you're a football junkie, this is the place to be. Now Jamal Lord doing a little bit of scrambling. Gets up to the 40-yard line. Now let's take a look and see what happened in the Big 12 today. Of course, the premier game, Oklahoma upsetting Kansas State, the number 2 team in the country, in Manhattan, 41-31. A&M blanking Baylor, second week in a row that the Baylor Bears are shut out. Kansas, good win for Terry Allen. They win at 38-17 over Missouri. Texas beating Colorado 28-14. And Oklahoma State and Iowa State.
How about them Jayhawks making some noise?
I'm telling you, our producer Mike Helling is singing Rock Chalk Jayhawk in a truck right now. That's a big win for Bob Simmons, though, at Oklahoma State, and a tough loss for Dan McCarney at Iowa State. Dan McCarney hoping to get that 6 wins it takes to qualify. Or they're winning. That's not a final, we understand. But Dan McCarney needs to get to that 6th win to be bowl eligible.
Attempting to make the offensive team false start. That's a 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
James, that's a new rule this year. The defense cannot try to draw the offense offsides.
Well, I think this guy's just trying to slide down a little bit, and he's trying to move down the defensive line of scrimmage, loses his balance, and rocks forward. It's not intentional, but it has to be called with the intent that it makes it look like it. And there's Eric Crouch finally took off his helmet.
I think he's done.
Maybe done.
We'll go on a limb and say that.
I was asked about the eye black under the eyes. You used to put that on with actually kind of a lipstick type paste, and now you have little things that you peel off and put on.
Now you got to have it where it drips. That's Darren Diedrich out of Canada. His second carry tonight. He's a roommate of Correll Buckhalter. He picks up 15 on that play.
You almost said his second Canadian tonight.
I almost did.
I mean, was he watching Nebraska football as he was growing up? I mean, you know, if you're up there near the border, I think you'd be getting Penn State, maybe a little Michigan.
Michigan State maybe.
Yeah, but I think Nebraska, you number one, you win all the time. Everyone hears about you.
Lord running the action. Wow. What a spin move, and he is going to be stacked up.
You know, sometimes players make great moves and they result in humongous plays. That's a great move. He spun around and it was like, okay, where am I now?
Well, tomorrow we're bringing you the tailgate party with the NFL This Morning on Fox Sports 6. Very interesting show. I don't think Chris Spielman, he's up against the guys that just like to talk. Bob Golick doesn't let him talk, I don't think, does he?
Chris Spielman was a quiet, deadly player when he played.
And your former coach, Marv Levy, also on the show. Diedrich again, left side. Inside the 10, down to the 8-yard line. This is a good-looking running back. He brings great toughness to this I-back position.
Yeah, but it really starts with the guys up front. Volk, Pinotti, Raiola, Hautstein, Schwab. And we don't talk about their names a lot. See the graphic, 351 yards this season, leading the nation in rushing. And when they lead the nation in rushing, that results in national championships.
94, 95, and 97. Rushing yards, Texas Tech only 4. Iowa State had 37 last week. Lord pitching back. Diedrich looking for pay dirt, and he is abruptly let out of bounds. Antoine Alexander putting a hit on him along with Mark Washington. This is one of those pops you want to listen to.
But you don't want to be part of.
Check your fillings. You hear the bell ring in the background. Seems appropriate.
Yeah.
Second down and goal from the 4. Diedrich touchdown. His second of the year. And that'll put the lead up to 48-3. Still have 8:37 to play in the football game. Oh, Eric's got his helmet back on again.
You talk about having a balanced attack, and I watched this Nebraska attack, and they're very balanced. They run just as well to the right as they do the left.
Very much so. Hayden Felt the holder. And Josh Brown remains perfect on the year. And we have 8:37 left to play in the ball game, and Nebraska continues to up their lead. The home also of Buddy Holly, or we should say the former home of Buddy Holly. Eric Clemens, James Lofton, Ron Thulin coming your way, and Nebraska leading it 49-3. And they have used it by flexing their muscles running the football. This will be returned from about the 6. Welker putting his head down, getting some pretty good yardage. Wes Welker. One of the great surprises. Let's go back to the touchdown by Diedrich, but he should thank that man right there, Dominic Raiola.
Yeah, Dominic Raiola was the first team all Big 12 center last year. He's going to make a quick step to his right, help out on Wyatt to tackle, and then come off on Flugents. He gets the hand outside on his left hand, then he gets it quickly back inside so that he won't get the holding call. Big junior from Honolulu, Hawaii. I think he'd like some poi about right now.
Here's a guy that we thought when we asked him what he misses most about Hawaii, he'd say the surf, the sun. He says, no, the rice. Well, B.J. Simons is the quarterback in for the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and the redshirt freshman out of Houston Cypress Creek High School got a little taste of what Mr. Kingsbury was facing. He takes a seat. He's a big guy, 6'2", 204, has a pretty decent arm. Actually recruited by Mike Leach when Mike was at Oklahoma.
Now, is that a good thing? Was he trying to get rid of Mike at Oklahoma and ended up with him here?
You know, if Mike recruited him, he has to have some talent, obviously. He's got some guns on him. He's hit the weight room. 8:22, 49-3 the score. Simons a couple of play action passes.
He's got
going
him
deep. He's got a man. Incomplete. Earlier, Shad Williams had one hit off his head. This time, Jamal Broussard, the freshman out of Ringwood, Texas. He can't come down with it.
Okay, now I'm going to try and defend Broussard here. He's been not really involved in this ball game. Those fingers have gotten a little stiff in the breeze down there. But you know what? You've got to come up with that catch.
That ball.
And you have to understand what your quarterback is going through in the pocket and come up with those plays when you get a chance.
Jeff Hemge, number 18, was on the coverage. Sets up a 3rd down and 10. Simons tries to throw the out to Baker out of his outstretched hands. Can't come down with it. And Terrell Butler was in on the coverage. A freshman out of Austell, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. And Tech's going to have to kick it away again. A little 3 and out. Well, Mr. Greathouse has had his work cut out for him tonight, and he has not had an exceptionally good night tonight, kicking against the wind and with the wind. Almost blocked. From the 15. Still on his feet, number 81 for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, Ben Cornelson, sophomore out of Lincoln, Nebraska. Now we still have more football coming your way on Fox Sports.
The running backs, you saw Alexander, Buckholder, and now Dietrich in there. Running back coach Dave Gillespie does a nice job in getting these guys to square those shoulders and head directly upfield.
Lord's going to put it up. Pass is tipped and it falls incomplete. Tracy Wistrom, the intended receiver, and he has been very, very quiet tonight. Here is a guy that's every catch he's had this year has either been for a first down or a touchdown. Jamal Lord couldn't get him the ball that time.
And if you start to wonder why they're throwing the ball as they're trying to get Wistrom that catch, I don't think he has a reception tonight yet. So, and he has that little streak going. It's not a big streak. They want to get the ball in his hands.
Well, he's caught at least 2 passes every game this year, and that streak's about to end. Dietrich. There you go, squares the shoulders, just what you talked about. Goes to the first down marker and has it, and then a couple. And, you know, that sounds like something simple to say, squaring your shoulders. But when you're running full speed and all of a sudden you got to turn upfield, it looks a lot easier to do than it really is.
And most running backs, when they come out of high school, they have a tendency to be what I call boundary runners. They want to get right along that boundary, and you get bumped out of bounds. You saw that time, Dietrich, he got about 8 yards from the boundary, and he turned it directly upfield so that he knew that he could get some cutback yardage if he had to.
Great ahead of running. Dietrich showing a little bit of leg power, keeps the legs moving. He's wrapped up by Harold Watson, a redshirt freshman out of Austin, Texas, went to Reagan High School in Austin, as both teams now going to their 2 and 3 deep on the roster. John Dawson has come into the game now at right guard, the 6'2" redshirt freshman out of Cheyenne, Wyoming, one of the fine young offensive linemen for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. From the I formation on 2nd and 7. First man through, and there's not much there. Paul Castle, the sophomore out of Lincoln, with his first carry of the year.
I saw Paul during warmups. He's listed at 5'10", 230 pounds, and that 5'10" is standing on like a 3-inch block.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's one of those program 5'10s?
When you look in the dictionary at low center of gravity, there's Paul's picture.
Like Charles Barkley being 6'7" in college? It's about the same, isn't it? Dietrich tries to go up over the top. Penalty flag right into your screen. He's able to get up to the 45-yard line short of the first down. But John Bible, what's the call?
Yeah, I think they got number 75, Kyle Cole Morgan, Holding. There's a little penetration on his side, and he just had to grab some shirt.
Let's talk about those offensive linemen. We've got some of the second teamers in right now, along with Dawson and Kyle Morgan. But this is a thing that Nebraska prides themselves on. They get some of these high school players. Some of them aren't linemen in high school. Most of them redshirt their first year. And then Milt Tenopir just starts working them in the weight room with Boyd Epley. And all of a sudden, when they become juniors and seniors, these guys are big hosses, and they can start moving people.
Yeah. And I think some of them have pretty big bodies to start with. I don't imagine any of these guys were swivel hip linemen, running backs coming out of high school, but some of them were overgrown tight ends, and they played on the defensive side of the ball, and you have to learn how to be a pass protector and a run blocker.
Dan Hayden-Felt wouldn't get his letter tonight because he hasn't punted a whole lot of times. We have a penalty flag. It'll be roughing the kicker. Well, this will go for naught. Hayden-Felt took a shot back at about the 35-yard line, and that goes against Texas Tech. This is one of those penalties I think coaches probably just drive them nuts. You know, the game is out of reach. Don't do anything to hurt the opposing player. And Mike Leach has had some penalties tonight that, quite frankly, they're going to have to talk about tomorrow.
On the defense, that's a 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, the Nebraska fans haven't left. When they start taking off the pads, you know, it's time to head to the charter.
He's taking off his pads. He got a little hot in that jersey. So it's time to get out of this.
Look at the size of him, and he is a sophomore, folks.
Now, he's their biggest lineman, 335 pounds. I talked about, but you don't see a belly on him.
So Nebraska with good field position again, 1st and 10. Fumble, ball is loose. And Nebraska covering it up. Eric Clemens, it has been an interesting day if you are a member of the top 10 according to Associated Press.
It certainly has been looking awesome with that power ground game. Kansas State's going to drop a little bit. Virginia Tech a solid number 2 with a nice performance against West Virginia. What's going to happen to Kansas State? Miami, of course, will probably move up. Clemson, Ohio State a loser today. Oklahoma a big winner. So we're going to have a little shuffling. And it has been very interesting tonight. And, of course, not the kind of great game we expected to see out here.
Deontay Grigsby on the carry. This is a young man they're very high on. He's a youngster, has some great deal of talent. Well, let's talk about Kansas State. First of all, let's take first things first. Where do you think they're going to fall? We've already had this discussion today. I don't think they're going to fall farther than maybe 6th or 7th. Smooth, what do you think?
Well, we had it early in the year. Alabama went out. They lost to UCLA. I believe they were number 3 at the time. They fell to number 11. Kansas State, obviously, later in the season, you have more of a track record going for you. And I think the wild card in all of this is TCU. They play in the WAC. Not a tough schedule, but they win ball games. And do you look at a team like Kansas State and say, okay, they play some tough conference opponents and an early season schedule.
Yep.
You know, where do they end up? I mean, Eric would probably vote him number 3. That's the way Eric.
Hey, Eric, what do you think?
No, I think a lot of backlash might hit them because of their very soft non-conference schedule, and they may be punished a little bit more than we think. Losing a big game like that, Oklahoma really dominated them, especially in the first half at home. But if you're Texas Tech guys, you don't want to kind of roll over here. You got Kansas State next week.
Absolutely.
You piled up some good numbers and a good record coming into this game. You don't want to go into Kansas State next week on a really sour note. You want to do something positive to carry into that game, don't you?
Now Toby Shane has to come off the field, the sophomore linebacker out of Seminole, Texas. Yeah, he looks like the left shoulder may be hurting. 2nd down and 7 from the 22-yard line. Final 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Grigsby, left side, and he is going to be stacked up, and not before he gets down to the 15-yard line.
You know, Eric talked about not laying down, and when I see the tail end of that play and I see 5 black shirts around the ball carrier, these guys are still hustling. They're trying to get to the football. Nebraska right now is a couple of steps ahead of where Texas Tech is in terms of what they have on the cover. They have some great frontline talent. The next division of talent is good there. And Nebraska, when you look at their track record over the last 40 years, I mean, they've been, you know, a top 20 team, top 10 team, numerous national championships, and they're always there.
Moore's going to switch directions. Nice quick move, but he is going to go nowhere quickly. What do you think about Nebraska, we got a little extracurricular activity in there.
Yeah, but and it wasn't that late. We had a Texas Tech player knock over a Nebraska lineman, and you get 5 flags coming in just because it's a little bit of ways from the play. But Lord is still scrambling and trying to get moving.
Personal foul on the defense. Half the distance to the goal line, first down.
Well, they've gone just about every game with at least 1 and 2 personal fouls, the Texas Tech defense, and they've done it again tonight. So that sets up a 1st and goal for the Nebraska offense. 3:45, and the clock's not moving fast enough for Mike Leach.
And you look at this situation. This is tough on the offensive players. They know they have to run, grind it out, and Texas Tech can just tee off on them when they get the chance.
Lord's going to keep it. Looking for Pater. Touchdown. Jamal Lord's first rushing touchdown, or second rushing touchdown as the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So that ups the score to 55-3, inside of 3.5 to play, and you can see them just shaking their heads. This was the number 2 defense in the country coming into this game. And the kick is good. We'll step aside with the Nebraska Cornhuskers leading 56-3. Another 7 on to the ledger, 56-3, inside of 3.5 to play in quarter number 4. And Nebraska well on their way to remaining number 1. Now we've dodged the bad weather, but Texas Tech has not dodged that Nebraska offense, nor their defense. Welker takes a hit and goes down. Crosses the 10 up to about 13. Off the 13-yard line, and Eric Crouch is our TiVo player of the game. 138 total yards, accounted for 3 touchdowns, and he is our TiVo player of the game.
A very quiet and efficient night for Eric Crouch. And it seems like he's doing it week after week after week, and we start this little Heisman Trophy thing, and sometimes you can say he's a junior. Well, the guys you're talking about are also underclassmen.
Right.
And he is on the number 1 team in the country, and he's running the ship.
You still have to say it's Michael Vick's to lose, though. You and I were impressed with him Thursday night. We watched that game. B.J. Simon's still in. Pass is complete. Spinning around is Williams. Not much running room. If this score stands up, it'll be Tech's worst home loss ever. And that says a lot, because they are a very difficult team to play here in Lubbock. Come into these games with a chip on their shoulder because nobody gives them the credit they deserve. We saw them a couple years ago upset Texas. We've seen them upset A&M here. Tonight just wasn't the night, though. Pickup of 3, 2nd down and 7. Closing in on 2 minutes left to play in the ball game. Nope. Just a reminder, Pac-10 football coming your way right after this. Washington and Arizona State. Simons winds up and launches one. Baker tries to get a block to no avail. Simon's first pass is complete. Now the executive producers of Fox Sports Net are Arthur Smith and Bill Borson. Coordinating producers of College Football Saturday, Roy Hamilton and Gary Garcia. Tonight's game produced by Mike Helling, directed by Ken Fouts. College Football Saturday studio show was produced by Loy Maxson, directed by Joe Whitus. And the vice president of field operations is Andrea Jenkins. 1st and 10 for the Red Raiders. Simon's pass is incomplete, intended for Tim Baker, who's had a rough night tonight, the senior out of Borger, Texas.
And I think it's a ball game where you can kind of look at it, and Mike Leach will sit down and look at the films. Sometimes you talk about, well, it was so bad we don't want to look at it. And I think Texas Tech can look at it and they can see some glimmer of hope. If we execute here, we get something done early, maybe we have a chance to be in the ball game. But also I think the offensive linemen need to take a stern look at it and say we need to protect our quarterback a lot better.
Cliff Kingsbury's not going to make it through the whole season taking the shots he took. Incomplete. No penalty flag is thrown. That is just good, solid All-American defense by Nebraska.
Well, I think both guys are going for the football. We saw Wes Weckler, number 27, the wide receiver, coming down the field, and also Josh Davis, number 27, coming from the inside, trying to make a play on the football.
That's called a collision. 3rd down and 10 for the Red Raiders. 123 seconds left to play. Simons with a 4-man rush, steps up in the pocket, has some running room. He's to the 40, up to the 44-yard line, and he is going to be dropped. Well, this young man's not giving up. He made a great point. Knowing Mike Leach the way we do, knowing him for the past couple of years, he's not the kind of guy that's going to get down a lot after this football game. But he's also very realistic about his team and what it needs to improve on him. I'm sure tomorrow they're going to sit down, but I think the onus has to be on the offensive lineman.
Well, he was concerned about him coming into this ball game because they did not have a lot of experience. Had some older guys who had been around for a while, but they had gotten beaten out by younger guys who were a little more athletic. But still, this is not a weight room hardened offensive line. And until they get to that stage, and I think this is like a gut check. You've gotten beat up and down the field 60 minutes. You've looked over at Nebraska, looked them straight in the eye. You didn't want to put that S on their chest, but that S was under those jerseys, and you realize that S is strength. And that's, you talk about a lot of things on the football field. There's no substitute for strength and no excuse for the lack of it.
On 2nd and 10. Simon's running for his life. Throws it away, and the pass will be incomplete. Intended for King Scoville. A case of those of you familiar with Cotton Bowl history, King Scoville's, I think it's his great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Phil Scoville, one of the greats in Texas football history. We'll send you out to the Pac-10 when this one's over with Washington, number 11 in the country, taking on Arizona State. Carlos Polk has a lot of Polkisms, and my favorite is the defense is on the top of the food chain. Who's going to argue?
My favorite one, we asked him about his number 13 being unlucky. He said, yeah, it's unlucky for quarterbacks.
Because he gets to hit him. Simon's being rushed from the backside, airs it out. And it is incomplete, intended for the young redshirt freshman, Carlos Francis. Correct. Corral Buckholder had a pretty decent night tonight for the Huskers. Nice 1-2 punch. And Anna Alexander telling us that he doesn't think Buckholder gets the credit he deserves as a running back.
I would tend to agree. A guy who has over 2,000 career rushing yards and moving up that list in Nebraska history. Both of them will end their careers, Buckholder and Dan Alexander, with over 2,000 career rushing yards.
4th down and 10. The Red Raiders are going to go for it. 80 seconds left. Simon's a little touch pass. Oh, almost complete, incomplete. Pass was intended for Shawn Williams. I think that tells the story. They came in with high expectations.
There's Dorian Pitts on your screen, and the guy who's really the leader of this defense, a local kid from Monterey High School here in Lubbock. Took this loss tough because he thought coming into this ball game, we have a chance. We don't play Nebraska very often, and getting a chance to step up to the big leagues, and just didn't pan out for them. Now they have to strap it up and get ready for Kansas State next week.
You can't cry over this one too long, because Kansas State's going to be looking for some blood come next week. I don't think there's any question about that. Of course, this will be their 2nd Big 12 loss, which really hurts their chances for this South Division. I think that's what Mac Brown realized after getting shellacked by Oklahoma last week. It's only 1 loss in the South.
Joe Christman, the new quarterback.
Yeah, we have a new quarterback for the Nebraska Cornhuskers, Joe Christman.
Hey, you look great on Red Raiders.
A sophomore out of Longmont, Colorado. Getting his first playing time. Jamal Lord seeing some snaps tonight. Eric Crouch, of course, getting the majority. Pitching it back to Grigsby out of Omaha, Nebraska, Central High School. They have high expectations for this young man. Christman's first action tonight. And he has 30 seconds to get his uni dirty.
You don't get it very dirty on AstroTurf.
Nah, but you get a little sweat at least. At least you'll be sore, right? Like you said. Now the Nebraska fans cheering, of course, that they are number one. Nobody in this booth is going to doubt that. Richmond heads to the sideline and stop the clock with 13 seconds left. He will not get a Christmas present from me this year.
You know, there are a lot of people who work behind the scenes to make this broadcast work.
Oh, no,
one of my son, Daniel Lofton, was charting pass plays for Texas Tech and just showed me that Tech completed 42% of their passes tonight.
He's done a good job. 13 years old, and he told me he is a great wide receiver. Better than you, which he told me yesterday a couple times.
Well, he beat Mike Helling, our producer, on the hook and go.
Like a rented mule, didn't he?
Oh, my goodness.
Well, they keep it on the ground. Grigsby showing a little power, putting his head down, and that should do it. Well, no, it's a first down. Maybe they'll just let it run out. Frank's ready to head to the charter. Now we will have one more play.
Right. I think for Frank Solich and Craig Bowl, it's mission accomplished. They got the defense back on track in this ball game. The offense, they stayed the course. You run the football, stop the run, you win football games.
And Frank Solich will put a firm hold on that #1 ranking. Very impressive defensively and offensively tonight. They win it 56-3 here in Lubbock, Texas. Just a reminder, immediately following our game, we will send you out to the Pac-10 for Washington and Arizona State. Steve Fiziak, Tom Ramsey, Lewis Johnson standing by for that. Once again, the final score from Lubbock, 56-3 for James Lofton and Eric Clemens. I'm Ron Thulin. Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, after the break, we'll send you out to the Pac-10, Washington, Arizona State, standing by. College Football Saturday has been a presentation of Fox Sports Net.